My wife is a beautiful CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 551. I want to give it to you. Chu Hanzhang looked at Su Chen with shock. He couldn't understand why such a young man could master these miraculous medical skills that only appeared in ancient books. Moreover, he looked so skilled. But no matter what the reason was, Chu Hanzhang had completely accepted Su Chen's identity as a miracle doctor. Meng Diqiu, who was lying on the hospital bed, also clearly felt that the collapse of his meridians and Anshan had slowly stopped. There was even a force that was slowly repairing his body. This feeling had never been brought to him, even if he had found a very powerful miracle doctor or elixir in the past. Meng Diqiu's face was overjoyed. He knew in his heart that he had really found the right person this time. After Su Chen finished acupuncture Meng Diqiu, he walked aside. He checked the medicine that Chu Hanzhang had picked for him and nodded slightly. Chu Hanzhang knew about medicinal materials, and there was no problem with the quantity and category of these medicines. Mr. Chu, I want to use your tools to boil some medicine, Su Chen said. Chu Hanzhang said quickly, no problem. Mr. Su, how about I help you boil the medicine? Su Chen shook his head and said, thank you. However, the preparation of this medicine requires some of my unique techniques, and you may not be able to handle it well. Okay. Chu Hanzhang was a little regretful. He had thought that he could learn something from Su Chen. Even if it was just a prescription, it would be a big profit. Unfortunately, Su Chen did not agree at all. Then, Chu Hanzhang led Su Chen to the medicine boiling room and opened the tools. Mr. Su, everything is ready, you can start. Su Chen looked at him. Chu Hanzhang was stunned, then smiled awkwardly and left tactfully. Su Chen smiled. He was not hiding anything. It was because this time boiling the medicine was just a cover. More importantly, Su Chen was going to take this opportunity to mix the longevity energy into it. Soon, Su Chen came out with 3 pills. Walking to Meng Diqiu's side, Su Chen said, open your mouth. Meng Diqiu did as he was told. At this time, he had no choice but to trust Su Chen. Su Chen threw 3 pills into his mouth. The pills melted in his mouth. Not long after, Meng Diqiu felt a surge of energy in his body, roaming wildly. Su Chen's hand swept over the silver needles all over his body. Suddenly, the effect of the silver needles began to combine with the power of the pills. This feeling of rapid recovery made Meng Diqiu feel a little dizzy, as if he was drunk. Not long after, Meng Diqiu suddenly woke up. He found that the changes in his body had stopped, and the silver needles on his body were also taken off by Su Chen. Am I okay? Meng Diqiu sat up suddenly and asked excitedly. Su Chen said lightly, your danshan and meridians have basically been repaired. However, don't fight violently in the short term. The combat power you can exert now is about 60% to 70% of your peak period. As you slowly cultivate, I believe you will be able to fully recover soon. Meng Diqiu was instantly overjoyed. 60% to 70% of combat power is far beyond imagination. Moreover, he could recover quickly in the future, which was even more joyful. Meng Diqiu tried to circulate the qi in his body. In an instant, the terrifying qi burst out from him. In the room, Wang Shen and Chu Hanzhang suddenly felt that it was difficult to breathe. Okay, you wash up first, change into new clothes and try again, Su Chen said lightly. As he spoke, he waved his palm lightly. Meng Diqiu's terrifying momentum dissipated instantly. Everyone looked at Su Chen in shock, and Meng Diqiu had a strange look in his eyes. Su Chen's move was very clear. Even if Meng Diqiu recovered 60% to 70% of his strength, he could still suppress him. Mr. Chu, please take care of Mr. Meng, Su Chen said, and turned to go out. Chu Hanzhang hurried forward and took Meng Diqiu to wash up and change clothes. And Wang Shen caught up with Su Chen and walked to the hall together. Mr. Su, thank you so much. Wang Shen thanked. Su Chen smiled and said, it's a small matter, it's nothing. Wang Shen shook his head. For you, this is a trivial matter. But for others, it is probably harder than ascending to heaven. You don't know that Mr. Meng has taken many elixirs before and even consulted many divine doctors on the saint hand list, but none of them worked. In fact, there was no improvement at all. But such a serious injury was solved in your hands in a few seconds. I think Mr. Meng should also realize how powerful you are and will not be rude to you again. Su Chen smiled. He dare not be rude to me because of my strength, not because of my medical skills. Wang Shen smiled embarrassedly. It's the same. In his mind, the scene of Su Chen knocking Meng Diqiu away with one move appeared again. Soon, Meng Diqiu washed up, changed into clean clothes and came out. He walked quickly to Su Chen, clasped his hands together, and bowed deeply. Mr. Su, thank you for saving my life. Before, I was old and confused and offended Mr. Su. Please forgive me. Seeing Meng Diqiu's attitude, Su Chen nodded. Mr. Meng is polite. Su Chen is not a person who will not let go, even if he is right. Since the other party has bowed his head, he will not pursue it too much. Seeing this, Meng Diqiu showed a relaxed smile on his face. Wang Shen was the happiest. Meng Lao, it's great that you can recover your health. Yes. Meng Diqiu smiled at Wang Shen. Speaking of which, I still have to thank you. Fortunately, you found Mr. Su. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would be killed by that traitor. Wang Shen asked. Meng Lao, isn't Wei Chenke your apprentice? Why did he want to hurt you? Humph. Meng Diqiu snorted coldly. This bastard saw that I was seriously injured and was useless, and he kept spending a lot of money and resources on treatment. He was worried that my old bones would spend all the family property before I died, so he killed me in advance. I treated him like a son, but it turns out that he just hated me for dying too slowly. When everyone heard this, they sighed. Meng Diqiu's family property was obviously earned by himself, and it was reasonable to spend money on his own treatment. But in the eyes of his apprentice Wei Chenke, it was touching the property he could inherit in the future. It's really hard to predict people's hearts. Meng Diqiu looked at Su Chen and clasped his fists and said, thank you, Mr. Su, for saving my life twice. If you have any instructions in the future, you can arrange for me to do it. But I will never shirk my responsibilities. Su Chen said, I really have something to trouble you, Mr. Meng. Mr. Su, please tell me. Meng Diqiu bowed. Su Chen said, I want you to help me protect someone. Then, Su Chen gave a general account of Zhou Wanqiu's situation. Meng Diqiu agreed directly. Okay. Mr. Su, I'll go home and take care of some personal matters and then go to Jiu Tangsheng mansion. Su Chen nodded. Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Meng. It should be. Mr. Su, goodbye. Meng Diqiu said and left in a flash. In his home, there were still the bodies of Wei Chenke and Jing Zixu to deal with. Chu Hanzhang looked at Meng Diqiu's leaving figure and exclaimed, congratulations, Mr. Su, you have a great helper. This is a land immortal. Su Chen smiled. Chu Hanzhang's eyes flickered, and it was unknown what he was thinking. Suddenly, he said, Mr. Su, in fact, the two spiritual herbs in my hand are exactly the physical spiritual herbs you need. Su Chen looked at him. Chu Hanzhang continued, the two in my hand are the dripping blood vine and the burning soul black Ganoderma. The market price of these two spiritual herbs should be 800 million each and 1.5 billion each. Su Chen nodded. What do you want to say? Chu Hanzhang gritted his teeth. I want to give these two spiritual herbs to you. Su Chen smiled immediately. Chapter 4, finally finished. I'm about to collapse. I'll correct the typist tomorrow. Good night. Chapter 552. Use any means necessary. Chu Hanzhang looked at Su Chen with a flattering look on his face. Su Chen asked with a smile, Mr. Chu, why did you suddenly change your mind again? A trace of embarrassment flashed across Chu Hanzhang's face. He smiled and said, it's because I was narrow-minded and judged people by appearance that I failed to see Mr. Su's great medical skills. Please forgive me. I'm willing to give you the elixir, and I also want to ask you to help treat my uncle. Su Chen pointed at Chu Hanzhang and nodded. I don't need you to give it to me for free, just sell it to me at the original price. Hearing this, Chu Hanzhang was even more moved. He hurriedly said, no. As long as you can cure my uncle, the value is much greater than these 2 billion. Su Chen was slightly stunned. On the side, Wang Shen explained, Mr. Su, what Lao Chu said is right. His uncle's health is indeed more valuable than 2 billion. Lao Chu's uncle is called Chu Xiangsun, and he is the chairman of Qinyuan Pharmaceutical. This Qinyuan Pharmacy is one of the main industries of Qinyuan Pharmaceutical. During this period, Lao Chu's uncle was seriously ill, and Qinyuan Pharmaceutical has been in a mess. You saw inferior products in other Qinyuan pharmacies before, and someone was making trouble. Su Chen immediately understood why the quality of Qinyuan Pharmacy on Cheoang Avenue was so poor. Chu Hanzhang sighed and said, Mr. Su, what Lao Wang said is right. If you can cure my uncle, it will be much more valuable to me than to spiritual medicines. Su Chen nodded. Okay, let's leave now. Chu Hanzhang's face was immediately overjoyed. He called his men and asked them to take care of the store. Then, he and Su Chen got into Wang Shen's car and drove towards Chu Xiangsun's villa. At this time, a luxurious villa community in the city center. Those who live here are all the CEOs of large groups. In one of the villas, an old man was lying on a recliner, basking in the sun in the garden. His eyes were slightly narrowed, and his face was full of fatigue. This man was Chu Hanzhang's uncle, Chu Xiangsun. Next to Chu Xiangsun, there were 2 men standing. If Su Chen was here, he would definitely recognize these 2 people. They were Zhu Dangsun and Zhu Ziqiang. Chu Xiangsun's eyes were still slightly narrowed, and he said weakly, Ziqiang, did you bring Dangsun to see me? Zhu Ziqiang hurriedly said respectfully, yes, uncle. How are you recently? Uncle, I'm Dangsun. Zhu Dangsun also said respectfully. Chu Xiangsun tried hard to open his eyes. He smiled. You two are so thoughtful. My health is getting worse and worse. I'm old, and I'm done talking. Zhu Ziqiang sighed and said, logically, this shouldn't happen. Half a year ago, you were still strong, and could go running and swimming. How come you suddenly collapsed? Chu Xiangsun smiled bitterly, and shook his head. Zhu Dangsun said, Uncle, I wanted to buy you some good medicinal herbs, but something unexpected happened. Don't mind it. Chu Xiangsun asked, what's the accident? Are you alright? Zhu Ziqiang glared at Zhu Dangsun. What nonsense are you talking about? Then, he turned to Chu Xiangsun and said, Uncle, I'm fine. It was this kid Dangsun who wanted to buy some good medicinal herbs for healthcare at Qianjintang, but they were bought out by others in advance. He was talking about Su Chen buying medicine at Qianjintang. Chu Xiangsun smiled. So that's how it is. Dangsun, don't worry about me. My illness can't be cured by taking medicine. Zhu Ziqiang and Zhu Dangsun both sighed. At this time, Zhu Ziqiang asked, Uncle, you are recovering from illness now, and can't go to the company. Is Qinyuan Pharmaceutical okay? Chu Xiangsun's face suddenly turned cold. Humph. How can it be okay? You Qianjintang, with a big boss like you feel suppressing it, generally there won't be any trouble. But our Qinyuan Pharmaceutical group is not like that. Since I fell ill, a group of demons and monsters have jumped out to make trouble. Zhu Ziqiang asked, is it still Ko Chengwang? That's right. Chu Xiangsun nodded. He forced himself to sit up. This bastard, in order to force me to give up the position of chairman, he wanted to do everything he could. I heard that this bastard ignored the company's reputation and tampered with the medicinal materials in Qinyuan Pharmacy. Zhu Ziqiang nodded. We at Qianjintang have also discovered the counterfeiting of medicinal materials at Qinyuan Pharmacy. Recently, the business of Qianjintang has indeed improved a lot. Bang! Chu Xiangsun slapped the recliner and was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. Cough cough. Chu Xiangsun seemed to be a little too excited. His face flushed and he started coughing wildly. On the side, Zhu Ziqiang and Zhu Dangsun hurried forward to pat his back. After a long time, Chu Xiangsun calmed down. He said hatefully, that bastard Ko Chengwang is still trying to win over the shareholders who originally followed me. Many shareholders have defected to his side when they saw that I have not shown up. Yes. Zhu Ziqiang sighed. Now, only your nephew Chu Hanzhang controls the head office of Qinyuan Pharmacy, and Ko Chengwang has not intervened yet. Hearing Chu Hanzhang's name, Chu Xiangsun showed a trace of relief on his face. He nodded. Hanzhang did a good job. But, Ko Chengwang is too unscrupulous. I'm just worried that when Ko Chengwang comes to power, he won't let Hanzhang's store go. Alas. This beast. Zhu Ziqiang and Zhu Dangxin sighed. But this is an internal matter of Quinhuan Pharmaceutical after all, and they can't help. At this moment, a sound like a broken gong suddenly sounded outside the door. Achoo. I was wondering why I kept sneezing today. It turns out someone is talking about me. Old chairman, I'm here to see you. The gate of the villa opened. A middle-aged man with a round face and triangular eyes walked in. Seeing the person coming, Chu Xiangzhen's face suddenly became ugly. He said in a cold voice, "Ko Cheng Wang, what are you doing in my house?" Ko Cheng Wang chuckled. "Old chairman, what's your attitude? As your subordinate, isn't it my duty to come and visit you?" Chu Xiangzhen spat. The weasel is paying New Year's greetings to the chicken. It has no good intentions. Ko Cheng Wang didn't take it as an offense. Look at what you said. What are you talking about? He turned his head to look at Zhu Dangxin and Zhu Ziqiang. Oh. So you have guests here. Haha. Zhu Dangxin and Zhu Ziqiang were too lazy to pay attention to him at all. The two snorted coldly and turned their heads to the side. Ko Cheng Wang's face froze, but he didn't care. He smiled, took out a document, and handed it to Chu Xiangzhen. "Old chairman, our company has a document that needs your signature." Chu Xiangzhen was slightly stunned, sat up straight with force, and reached out to take it. When he saw the content of the document clearly, he was furious. This turned out to be a letter of resignation for him to take the initiative to resign from the position of chairman of Quinhuan Pharmaceutical. Moreover, it was proposed that Ko Cheng Wang take over. Arsehole. Chu Xiangzhen was so angry that his chest rose and fell violently. He pointed at Ko Cheng Wang and cursed. "Ko Cheng Wang, I will not sign this document. You bastard, just give up this idea." At this moment, Ko Cheng Wang put away the hypocritical smile on his face. "Chu Xiangzhen, do you want to die in this position of chairman? Even if I die in this position, I will not give it to a bastard like you." Chu Xiangzhen cursed. Ko Cheng Wang sneered. "Old Chu, don't force me. Now, many Quinhuan pharmacies are already selling fake drugs. I can contact the TV station at any time to expose all these things." Chu Xiangzhen's face changed. Ko Cheng Wang struck while the iron was hot and said, "I tell you, it is only Quinhuan Pharmacy that sells fake drugs now. If you dare to drag it on, the drugs sold by Quinhuan Pharmacy will cause deaths." Suddenly, Chu Xiangzhen's face looked extremely ugly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 553 Meeting an Acquaintance. Chu Xiangzhen's face was livid and his breathing was rapid. On the side, Zhu Dangxin and Zhu Ziqiang hurried forward. The two kept beating his back before Chu Xiangzhen recovered his breath. "You bastard, shut up." The two stared at Ko Cheng Wang. This was the first time they had seen such a bastard. In order to seize power, he was willing to damage the reputation of his own company and even prepared to cause a death. Ko Cheng Wang ignored them. He sneered and said, "Mr. Chu, you don't want the group you founded to end up in disgrace, do you?" Chu Xiangzhen gritted his teeth. He looked at Ko Cheng Wang hatefully. "You beast. What good will this do you?" Ko Cheng Wang sneered. "What good? Is it a good thing to completely control Quinhuan Pharmaceutical? Then Quinhuan Pharmaceutical will also be discredited." Chu Xiangzhen said angrily. "So what?" Ko Cheng Wang laughed. "A powerful Quinhuan Pharmaceutical that I have no say in is not a good company for me. Even if Quinhuan Pharmaceutical has a bad reputation, as long as I have the final say, it is a good company." Hearing this, Chu Xiangzhen was so angry that he trembled all over. "You won't succeed. Han Zhang will stop you." Ko Cheng Wang smiled coldly. "You think too much. Chu Han Zhang's ability and reputation are not as great as yours. He can barely control the head office of Quinhuan Pharmacy. As for other things, he can't even protect himself." Chu Xiangzhen's face was ugly. He knew that what Ko Cheng Wang said was true. Ko Cheng Wang smiled coldly. "So, I suggest you sign this document quickly and give way to others. Because you haven't appeared for a long time, I have won over many of your shareholders. If the scandal of Quinnian Pharmacy is exposed on TV news again, Quinnian Pharmaceutical will be finished. If you can stay in the group, maybe you can suppress it. But can your body allow it? Ha ha ha. Chu Xiangzhen's face was as gloomy as water, and he closed his eyes in pain. Ko Chengwang wanted to use the life and death of Quinnian Pharmaceutical to force himself. At this time, he had no choice but to agree to Ko Chengwang. Just when Chu Xiangzhen was about to agree, a loud shout came. Which bastard said my uncle can't return to the group? Bang! The gate of the villa was pushed open again. 3 figures walked in quickly. It was Su Chen, Chu Hanzhang and Wang Shen. Beside Chu Xiangzhen, Zhu Dangxin and Zhu Ziqiang were both stunned. Mr. Su, the two shouted together. Chu Hanzhang and Wang Shen were startled and looked at Su Chen. Su Chen was quite surprised and looked at the Zhu family father and son. Why are you here? Zhu Ziqiang pointed at Chu Xiangzhen and said, Old Chu is my uncle. Su Chen immediately understood. Wow. This provincial capital is really small. Zhu Ziqiang's uncle is Chu Hanzhang's uncle. In other words, Chu Hanzhang is Zhu Ziqiang's cousin and Zhu Dangxin's uncle. No wonder, when Zhu Dangxin robbed his own medicinal materials, he said that he helped his father rob them, and was going to let Zhu Ziqiang take them to show people as gifts. It turned out that it was given to Chu Xiangzhen. Su Chen turned his head and glanced at Chu Hanzhang. Your relatives in Quinnian Pharmaceutical are actually shareholders of Qianjintang. Chu Hanzhang also smiled. Zhu Dangxin is my cousin. I didn't expect him to know you. The Chu family has always been in the pharmaceutical industry. Therefore, Zhu Ziqiang had resources in this area and entered the pharmaceutical industry. Later, his small pharmacy developed well and was acquired by Qianjintang, which was expanding in scale. He then exchanged shares for shares and became a small shareholder of Qianjintang. Chu Xiangzhen didn't know the relationship between the few people and asked, Hanzhang, who is this gentleman? Chu Hanzhang hurriedly said, Uncle, let me tell you, this is Mr. Su Chen. He is a famous doctor. I invited him to treat you. Uncle, didn't I just say that with Mr. Su here, you can go back to the company and take charge? Those little ghosts will shrink their heads. As he said this, Chu Hanzhang deliberately glanced at Ko Chengwang. Chu Xiangzhen was startled because Su Chen looked too young. On the side, Ko Chengwang sneered. Chu Hanzhang, even if you want to find someone to act and scare people, please be a little more serious. If you find an old man and say he is a miracle doctor, I might be fooled by you. You find such a young man. Are you here to make fun of me? Chu Hanzhang snorted coldly. Ko Chengwang, you know nothing. Mr. Su Chen's medical skills are not worse than the miracle doctors on the Saint Hand list. The miracle doctor Bincheng, who is in the top 10 of the Saint Hand list, has to chase Mr. Su and call him master. President Zhang Zhehong of the provincial capital Central Hospital also asked Mr. Su to be the chief expert. Also, Mr. Su can cure even the serious injuries of the strong men in the God realm that have not been healed for many years. Chu Hanzhang repeated what Wang Shen had said to him before. Wang Shen looked sideways frequently, as if he wanted to say, you have a pretty good memory. However, this remark fell into Ko Chengwang's ears, but it caused a burst of laughter. Bah! He spat. Nonsense. You're so good at making up stories. Don't you think you're going too far? Just then, Chu Xiangzhen stood up shakily with a cane. He looked a little excited. So you are Dr. Su? Hanzhang actually invited you here. That's great. Su Chen was stunned. Has this old man heard of him? Zhu Ziqiang and Chu Hanzhang were also surprised, wondering why Chu Xiangzhen knew Su Chen. Seeing the old man staggering, Su Chen hurried forward to support Chu Xiangzhen. Old man, slow down. As soon as they touched, Su Chen felt that the situation in Chu Xiangzhen's body was very bad. On the side, Ko Chengwang's face was uncertain. He sneered. Old man Chu, did you recognize the wrong person? You really believe this young boy? What kind of miracle doctor is he? Chu Xiangzhen looked at him coldly. Wait until Dr. Su cures my illness. I will go back to the company and slowly deal with you. Ko Chengwang's face suddenly became ugly. Dr. Su, let's go and treat him. Chu Xiangzhen smiled. I've heard that your medical skills are very magical. Su Chen was confused. However, he still took Chu Xiangzhen to the villa. Close the door. Chu Xiangzhen let go of Su Chen's support and put the crutches aside. The whole person sat on the sofa weakly, panting. Huff, huff. It seemed that just walking back to the hall from the villa courtyard had consumed all his energy. Su Chen said, "Mr. Chu, are you ready? Let me treat you." Chu Xiangzhen raised his head and smiled bitterly. "Mr. Su, haven't you acted enough? Do you really want to play the role of a miracle doctor to the end and treat me?" Su Chen was stunned. Chu Xiangzhen said, "Actually, I don't know who you are at all. I just want to use you to scare KO Chengwang." Hearing this, Su Chen was immediately at a loss for words. Just now he was wondering how Chu Xiangzhen knew him. It turns out that this old man is also an old actor. Su Chen said seriously, "Mr. Chu, I'm really a doctor." Chu Xiangzhen was slightly stunned. He looked Su Chen up and down and asked, "Do you have any way to make me refreshed temporarily? It would be best if I could get rid of the crutches and stand up to talk a few words. I'll scare KO Chengwang first and then find a way to clean up the company's situation." A bitter smile appeared on Su Chen's face. It seems that Chu Xiangzhen still doesn't believe in himself. He smiled and said, "Mr. Chu, I do have a way to make you refreshed. But I think it would be better to make you completely healthy." For a moment, Chu Xiangzhen was stunned. The next chapter should be after 2:30. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 554 Change Your Name. Chu Xiangzhen stared at Su Chen. "You mean, you can make me healthy again?" Su Chen smiled. "Why not?" As he spoke, Su Chen stepped forward, put one hand on Chu Xiangzhen, and sent a ray of longevity energy to him. Chu Xiangzhen suddenly felt a shock all over his body, and a surge of energy instantly appeared in his body. He felt that he seemed to be able to stand up without crutches. Chu Xiangzhen's eyes were full of surprise. Su Chen smiled and said, "Mr. Chu, your main problem is heart failure and paralysis of the limbs. If the heart is weak, the blood transfusion capacity will be weak. Gradually, your heart's pumping blood will weaken, and finally it will not even be able to reach the end of the body. If the limbs are ischemic, your limb muscles will atrophy, and eventually your limbs will tremble, and you will be unable to stand. If the head is ischemic, you will be easily mentally exhausted, dizzy and nauseous. Besides, even if you go to the hospital will not find any problems. At most, they will say that your heart is naturally aging." Chu Xiangzhen was stunned. How do you know?" Su Chen pointed to his eyes. "I saw it." Chu Xiangzhen was stunned on the spot. How could he know that Su Chen's mental power was much more accurate than the various advanced medical devices in the hospital? However, at this moment, Chu Xiangzhen believed Su Chen a little. "Then Dr. Su, is my disease really curable?" Chu Xiangzhen's eyes were excited. Su Chen nodded. "Specifically, your disease is not called a disease, but a poison." "Poison?" Chu Xiangzhen's face was shocked. Su Chen explained, "You were poisoned by a kind of poison called Ningxin powder. This is a chronic poison. The person who poisoned you should have access to your food to do this." Chu Xiangzhen's eyes lit up, as if he remembered someone. "Arsehole," he cursed in a low voice. Su Chen was not interested in Chu Xiangzhen's private affairs. He continued, "Ningxin powder will gradually stagnate and weaken your heart, and cause problems with your brain and limbs. In other words, your body is now equivalent to a small horse pulling a big cart. If you move a little, you will not be able to support it." At this moment, Chu Xiangzhen has completely believed in Su Chen. He struggled to get up and knelt down to Su Chen. "Mr. Su Chen, please save me." Su Chen quickly helped Chu Xiangzhen up. "Mr. Chu, you are too polite. Since I'm here, I must cure you. Unbutton your shirt first. I will help you remove the poison of Ningxin powder and restore your heart power." Chu Xiangzhen was overjoyed. Okay. After that, he took off his shirt. Su Chen flicked his hand, and more than a dozen silver needles had already pierced Chu Xiangzhen's chest. Chu Xiangzhen was shocked. This action was too fast. "Don't move," Su Chen said lightly. Then, he quickly tapped Chu Xiangzhen's chest with his fingers. Bang, 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 several times in a row. Chu Xiangzhen felt that his chest was shaking and itchy. He looked down. He saw a trace of black liquid slowly flowing out along the silver needles in his chest. Chu Xiangzhen's face was full of shock. Finally, the black liquid flowed out, and the subsequent flow was bright red blood. A sense of relief came from Chu Xiangzhen's heart. He felt that his heart was like taking off a heavy shackle and regaining a new life. Su Chen took away the silver needle and helped Chu Xiangzhen clean his chest. Then, Su Chen pressed one hand on Chu Xiangzhen's heart and slowly injected a long life energy. Bang, bang, bang. Chu Xiangzhen suddenly felt that his heart had completely recovered. Mr. Su, I feel like I'm recovered. Chu Xiangzhen wanted to stand up excitedly. As a result, he felt dizzy, his hands and feet were weak, and he almost fell to the ground. He looked at Su Chen in astonishment. Mr. Su, how can I? Su Chen smiled and explained, your heart has only recovered, but your limbs have not recovered yet. Don't worry, lie down first. I will help you push the palace to circulate blood and dredge the blocked blood vessels. Chu Xiangzhen quickly suppressed his excitement and lay down obediently. Su Chen stretched out his hand and slid quickly over him. Not long after, Chu Xiangzhen felt that his head and limbs began to heat up and even felt a little numb, but it was very comfortable. After a while, Su Chen stopped. Mr. Chu, you can stand up now. Chu Xiangzhen stood up carefully and then slowly stood up. He could even walk back and forth. I really stood up. I can still walk. Mr. Su, I'm fine. I'm completely fine. Chu Xiangzhen was excited. Su Chen smiled faintly. This disease may be difficult to treat in the hands of others, but it is not difficult at all in his opinion. He cupped his hands and said, congratulations, Mr. Chu. Later, I guess Ko Chengwang will be scared to death. Chu Xiangzhen's face lit up when he heard this. But then, he sighed and said, I'm afraid that bastard will go all out and use Quiniuan pharmacy to threaten me. This bastard has been prepared for a long time. If I don't give up the position of chairman, he will let the TV station and other media expose Quiniuan pharmacy. By then, I'm afraid both sides will suffer. The reputation of my Quiniuan pharmaceutical will be completely ruined. Su Chen was slightly stunned. He glanced at Chu Xiangzhen and asked, Mr. Chu, if you survive this crisis, can you guarantee that there will be no more fake drugs in Quiniuan pharmacy? Chu Xiangzhen immediately said, of course. I never support making money in this way. Han Zhang is influenced by me, so the head office is so innocent. Su Chen nodded. Okay. Then I'll help you solve it. Chu Xiangzhen was stunned. He didn't understand what Su Chen meant. Su Chen didn't explain too much. He picked up the phone and called Gu Qingjun. Gu Qingjun was busy at Fixing Entertainment Media Group and was surprised to receive a call from Su Chen. She hurriedly answered the phone. Su Chen told the story of Ko Chengwang. He asked, our group has resources in TV stations and various media. Can we suppress this matter? Gu Qingjun said quickly, Mr. Su, don't worry, there is no problem. Besides, even if he puts it online, we have professional internet users to lead the trend. Su Chen nodded. Gu Qingjun is really professional. Su Chen said, okay. Then please help me keep an eye on this matter. No problem, Mr. Su. Gu Qingjun agreed very straightforwardly. Hang up the phone. Su Chen smiled at Chu Xiangzhen and said, don't worry, Mr. Chu, Ko Chengwang can't expose the matter of Quiniuan pharmacy branch to TV stations and other media, and he can't lead the trend online. Chu Xiangzhen's face was full of surprise. Really? Thank you, Mr. Su. He wanted to kowtow to Su Chen. In his opinion, the reputation of Quiniuan pharmaceutical is even more precious than his own life. Su Chen held Chu Xiangzhen, who was about to kneel, and said with a smile, Mr. Chu, please don't be polite to me. Let's go out quickly and see what Ko Chengwang's face is like. Chu Xiangzhen was stunned, then laughed. Yes, yes. The two continued to walk out. In the villa courtyard, Ko Chengwang sneered. He glanced at the villa behind. You don't really believe that the young boy can cure Chu Xiangzhen? Chu Hanzhang said coldly, Ko Chengwang, don't embarrass yourself with your ignorance here. Mr. Su's medical skills are beyond your imagination. Haha. Ko Chengwang smiled contemptuously. I don't know what kind of ecstasy that Su Chen gave you to make you believe in him so much. It's really funny. If he can cure Chu Xiangzhen, I will call my name backwards from now on. As the voice fell, the door behind him opened. Su Chen stepped out first. Then, it was Chu Xiangzhen. He was ruddy and energetic, and walked out with a dragon-like and tiger-like step. Su Chen sneered. Wanqiu KO, remember to go to the household registration department later and change your name. Ko Cheng Wang was stunned. Chu Xiangsun, are you really healed? That's it for now. I'll put down the outline recently. Good night, everyone. Chapter 555. You wait. Ko Cheng Wang's face was full of shock. On the side, Chu Hanzhang and Zhu's father and son were surprised. Uncle, you are really well. Uncle, you are healed. Great. Grandpa uncle, you are well again. The three rushed forward and surrounded Chu Xiangsun. Chu Xiangsun was full of smiles, stretching his arms and legs. His mind was very energetic and his movements were very agile. The three juniors were immediately excited and thanked Su Chen at the same time. Thank you, Mr. Su. Su Chen waved his hand lightly, and then he looked at Ko Cheng Wang. Mr. Ko, don't forget what you said just now. Your name must be reversed in the future. Ko Cheng Wang, Wanqiu Ko. It sounds good. Ko Cheng Wang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He looked at Chu Xiangsun coldly, and his expression kept changing. Chu Xiangsun sneered and asked, Ko Cheng Wang, I'm well again, and you don't seem very happy. Ko Cheng Wang smiled. He laughed dryly. What are you talking about? I'm naturally happy for you. Haha. Really? Chu Xiangsun sneered. Then, he picked up the resignation report that Ko Cheng Wang had handed over before. Haha. Please take this resignation report back with you. As he spoke, Chu Xiangsun tore up the resignation report. Then, he hit Ko Cheng Wang hard. Ko Cheng Wang was hit all over his head and face. The force was not like that of an old man who had just recovered from a serious illness. At this moment, Ko Cheng Wang finally believed that Chu Xiangsun had really recovered. Chu Xiangsun, you. Ko Cheng Wang stared at his opponent. What's wrong with me? Chu Xiangsun sneered. From tomorrow, I will return to Quanyuan Pharmaceutical. We still have a long way to go. Ko Cheng Wang's face was extremely gloomy. Suddenly, he sneered. Chu Xiangsun, do you think you can turn the tables by recovering your health? I tell you, you think too much. I will let the TV station expose the news that Quanyuan Pharmacy is selling inferior products and fake drugs. Don't even think about taking what I can't get. On the side, Chu Hanzhang was furious. You son of a bitch. You are hurting others and not benefiting yourself. I will beat you to death. As he spoke, Chu Hanzhang was about to step forward to attack. However, at this time, Su Chen reached out to stop him. Mr. Chu, don't worry, let this Ko Cheng Wang make a phone call and see if the TV station will report this. Chu Hanzhang was cold, and then said anxiously, Mr. Su, you can't let him report this. Quanyuan Pharmaceutical will be hit hard. Su Chen smiled. On the side, Chu Xiangsun said, Hanzhang, don't stop him, let him make a phone call. Chu Hanzhang was stunned. I don't know what these two people are doing. Ko Cheng Wang looked at the two of them with a puzzled look on his face. Are you two crazy? Su Chen smiled and said, if you want to make a call, just make it now. Why are you saying those nonsense? Seeing Su Chen's attitude, Chu Xiangsun became more confident. Yes. Ko Cheng Wang, can you hurry up? Get out of here after the call. Okay. Ko Cheng Wang's eyes widened, and he was so angry that his three corpses jumped. Chu Xiangsun, you old bastard, you force me to do this. As he spoke, Ko Cheng Wang directly dialed the phone. His call was to Li Mingxin, the deputy director of the evening news in the provincial capital. In order to force Chu Xiangsun to regret, Ko Cheng Wang directly turned on the hands-free. The call was quickly connected. Brotherly, please expose the scandal of Quanyuan Pharmacy from your side. Ko Cheng Wang said, while looking at Chu Hanzhang and others proudly. However, Li Mingxin said coldly, Ko Cheng Wang, this can't be done. Don't bother me anymore. Ko Cheng Wang's face was stunned. He hurriedly asked, Brotherly, what's wrong with you? Li Mingxin said coldly, what do you mean, what's wrong with me? I can't do it. In the future, don't look for me for anything related to Quanyuan Pharmaceutical. I have nothing to do with you. If you dare to disturb me again, don't blame me for making dirty secrets about you. Click. The phone was hung up directly. Ko Cheng Wang's face changed completely. He looked at Su Chen and others with a look of shock. Did you do this? Ko Cheng Wang was furious. Chu Hanzhang and the Zhu father and son also looked at Su Chen in shock. They knew that Chu Xiangxin could not handle this matter at all, otherwise he would have been fearless. The person who solved this problem must be Su Chen. Su Chen actually had such a background and strength, which was far beyond their imagination. Ha ha ha. Chu Xiangxin laughed non-stop. He looked at Su Chen gratefully, and then said to Ko Cheng Wang, "Asshole, what else do you have to say now?" Ko Cheng Wang looked ugly. He said quickly, "Don't be too happy, isn't it just someone at the TV station? I'll find someone online to stir up trouble. Let's see if you have any other ideas." Then, Ko Cheng Wang made another call. However, the response from the other party made Ko Cheng Wang even more desperate. "Mr. Ko, this won't work. Every time we post a post, it's deleted. Even if there are some left, they are also being stirred up by the internet trolls, and there is no effect at all. Mr. Ko, this is bad. There are still people online stirring up trouble for you, saying that these things were arranged by you." Snap. Ko Cheng Wang turned off his phone directly. With a look of resentment, he looked at Chu Xiangxin. "You old bastard, I didn't expect you to have this kind of power. Okay, I underestimated you, old bastard. Let's wait and see." Chu Xiangxin sneered. "Ko Cheng Wang, you overestimated me. I don't have such a big ability. This matter is also thanks to Mr. Su." As he spoke, Chu Xiangxin bowed to Su Chen again. "Thank you Mr. Su for your help." On the side, Chu Hanzhang and Zhu's father and son showed expressions of expectedness. Ko Cheng Wang's face changed. He stared at Su Chen fiercely. "Asshole, it turns out that you, the little beast, are causing trouble." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a flash in front of his eyes. Su Chen's figure flashed in an instant, and in the blink of an eye he was in front of him. Pa. A slap was slapped. Ko Cheng Wang flew out. Puff puff puff. Half of his mouth full of teeth suddenly spit out from his mouth. "You son of a bitch, you dare to hit me." Ko Cheng Wang covered his swollen face with a look of disbelief. Su Chen sneered, "If you keep talking nonsense, I will knock out your other teeth." Ko Cheng Wang was terrified and dared not to curse anymore. "You wait," he shouted angrily, then turned around and ran. It seemed that he was afraid that, if he ran too slowly, Su Chen would knock out the other half of his teeth. Ha ha ha. Everyone in the villa courtyard laughed out loud. The laughter stopped, and Chu Xiangxin turned his head to look at Su Chen. Bang. He knelt down directly. "Mr. Su, thank you for saving my life first, and then saving Quiniuan Pharmaceutical. Thank you for your great kindness." Su Chen hurried forward and helped the old man up. He smiled and said, "You are too polite." On the side, Chu Hanzhang was also deeply touched. "Mr. Su, you saved Quiniuan Pharmaceutical, which is more important than saving our Chu family." Chu Hanzhang walked back to the car, took out 2 wooden boxes, and handed them to Su Chen. "Mr. Su, inside are the dripping blood vine and the burning soul black Ganoderma. This is my thank you gift to you. I hope you won't refuse." Chu Hanzhang said respectfully. Su Chen said, "I said before that you just need to sell it to me. I will pay you at the original price." However, Chu Hanzhang refused to accept it. "Mr. Su, such medicinal materials are only valuable in the hands of a genius doctor like you. In my hands, it will only let this magical medicine be covered in dust, which is also a waste of natural resources." In the end, Su Chen had no choice but to give up. Chapter 556, Removing Arms and Legs. Su Chen received the 2 spiritual herbs and was in a very good mood. For him, receiving spiritual herbs was much more comfortable than receiving money. After all, spiritual herbs are something that can only be found by chance. Moreover, if one is not in urgent need of money, ordinary people will not sell spiritual herbs. In addition, the spiritual herbs that Chu Hanzhang gave Su Chen this time were the physical spiritual herbs that he needed most at the moment. Seeing that Su Chen was in a good mood, Chu Xiangxin's eyes moved. He said, "Mr. Su, it's almost time for dinner. Do I have the honor to invite you to have dinner together?" Su Chen nodded. "Then I will be respectful to refuse." Chu Xiangxin's face suddenly became very happy. A person like Su Chen, who has both medical skills and power behind him, is still very worthy of making friends. Chu Xiangxin thought for a moment and asked, Mr. Su, you called before and asked someone to help greet the TV station. Who are you looking for? Can you invite her to dinner? The old man wants to thank her in person. Su Chen thought about it and said, I'll call her to see if she has time. Now, Gu Qingjun has just taken over fixing, and Su Chen is afraid that it will affect her work. After the call, Gu Qingjun heard Su Chen's invitation and agreed immediately. No problem, Mr. Su. Now, just send me the address later. After hanging up the phone, Su Chen told Chu Xiangxin the news. Chu Xiangxin's face lit up. Soon, several people got into cars and walked towards the hotel they had booked. Chu Hanshang had already booked a large private room. Su Chen and others sat down. Chu Xiangxin insisted that Su Chen sit in the main seat. Next to him, there was a seat left for Gu Qingjun. Not long after, Gu Qingjun arrived in the private room. After Su Chen introduced everyone quickly became familiar with each other. There were only 7 people sitting at the background table. Su Chen, the uncle and nephew of the Chu family, the father and son of the Zhou family, plus Wang Shen and Gu Qingjun. The food and drinks came up quickly. Chu Xiangxin and Chu Hanshang naturally toasted Su Chen repeatedly to thank him for his help. Seeing that the two were in a good mood, Su Chen couldn't bear to spoil their mood. He raised his glass and drank, which made the two praise him repeatedly. Gu Qingjun was also toasted by the uncle and nephew of Chu Xiangxin. However, because she was driving, she drank juice. Soon, everyone started chatting. Chu Xiangxin suddenly asked, by the way, I remember, Ziqiang and Dangxin, you two seem to have known Mr. Su before, right? Zhu Dangxin blushed and nodded. Zhu Ziqiang was also a little embarrassed. I do know him, but I only met him yesterday. Chu Xiangxin asked with some doubts. Then why don't you ask Mr. Su to treat me? Uncle, we didn't know that Mr. Su Chen was good at medicine. Zhu Ziqiang was quite embarrassed. Yesterday, he only knew that Su Chen knew Mr. Yu Filei and Zhu Zinayu. Oh, that's how it is. Chu Xiangxin nodded. Then how did you know Mr. Su? After asking this question, Su Chen smiled but said nothing. Zhu Dangxin, who was standing aside, had already blushed to his neck. Zhu Ziqiang pointed at Zhu Dangxin and said, it's all because of this rebellious son. Then, Zhu Ziqiang told them about Zhu Dangxin snatching Su Chen's medicinal materials. Zhu Dangxin was embarrassed. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. Chu Xiangxin laughed and said, no wonder you two don't know Mr. Su's medical skills. It turns out that you were just beaten up. This is really a case of no fight, no acquaintance. As he spoke, Chu Xiangxin also persuaded, then what are you two waiting for? Hurry up and toast to Mr. Su to apologize. Zhu Dangxin and Zhu Ziqiang quickly stood up with their glasses raised. The two of them respectfully toasted Su Chen. Su Chen smiled and drank with them. The two of them also untied their knots. Everyone was talking and chatting, and the atmosphere was lively. At this moment, bang, the door of the box was suddenly kicked open. Everyone was shocked. Su Chen looked over with cold eyes. He saw a dozen gangsters with dragon and phoenix tattoos rushing in, each holding a steel pipe and a short knife in his hand, which was very scary. Ah! Gu Qingjun couldn't help but screamed. The faces of others were also quite ugly. The leader of these gangsters was a yellow curly-haired man. He glanced at everyone coldly and asked loudly, who is Su Chen? Stand up for me. Wang Shen's eyes turned cold, and he was about to take action immediately. Su Chen raised his hand to stop him and smiled. Mr. Wang, since you are looking for me, let me do it. Wang Shen nodded and sat back. Su Chen stood up and looked at Curly. I'm Su Chen. What can I do for you? Curly sneered. Oh, you're still quite courageous. I don't have any advice, but someone paid you to give me a leg and an arm. You decide. Do you want me to lie down and help you take it off, or do you want me to beat you up and then help you take it off? Su Chen sneered. I choose to beat you up. What a dog's guts. Curly yelled. Let me teach you a lesson. As he spoke, he grabbed Su Chen. He moved very fast and had reached the threshold of Mingzhen warrior. However, in Su Chen's eyes, he was as slow as a snail. Bang! With a loud bang, Curly flew out directly. He knelt on the ground in pain. Damn! He dared to hit our boss. Go to hell. The gangsters were immediately furious and rushed up with steel bars and short knives. Everyone in the box, except Wang Shen and Chu Hanzhang, changed their faces. They didn't know Su Chen's fighting power at all, and they were immediately worried. Su Chen sneered, looking for death. The next second, he rushed into the crowd. One punch knocked one down. One kick sent one flying. In less than 5 seconds, Su Chen had returned to his position. Those hooligans fell to the ground and groaned in pain. Su Chen walked forward slowly and pulled up Curly on the ground. "Tell me, who asked you to come?" Curly endured the pain and threatened, "Let me go. Don't think you dare to attack us just because you have some force. Our boss is Brother Black Dog." Brother Black Dog? Su Chen was stunned. Who is Brother Black Dog? At this time, Zhu Ziqiang explained, "Brother Black Dog is the underground tyrant around here. He has a lot of men." Curly threatened immediately, "Did you hear that? Let me go." Slap. Su Chen slapped Curly in the face. "Did I ask you a question?" Curly's face was full of humiliation, but he didn't dare to speak again. At this time, Su Chen asked Zhu Ziqiang, "Who is better, Black Dog or Sun Zheoxian?" Zhu Ziqiang said, "Of course Sun Zheoxian is better. Now, Sun Zheoxian can be regarded as the biggest underground overlord in the entire provincial capital, and Black Dog has only a few streets at most." Su Chen nodded, and he took out his mobile phone and called Sun Zheoxian. Sun Zheoxian was shocked when he received Su Chen's call. He asked quickly, "Mr. Su, do you have any plans?" Su Chen said, "Do you know Brother Black Dog? Can you handle him?" "Gao Quanlin? I know him." Sun Zheoxian said, "If you want to handle him, it's very simple." Su Chen nodded and said, "He is just one of his men. He attacked me and even broke my arms and legs. Go and get Black Dog to me. I want to ask who wants to attack me." Sun Zheoxian was furious when he heard this. "What the hell? This bastard dared to attack you?" I ignored him. "Does he think he is a big shot? Damn it. Mr. Su, give me an address. I will send him to you within half an hour." Su Chen nodded, "Okay," and hung up the phone. Su Chen found that Curly's face changed. The next chapter is expected to be around 1:30. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 557. You're dead. Curly stared at Su Chen. He swallowed his saliva and said in shock, You know Brother Ziyang?" Su Chen nodded. "If the Brother Ziyang you are talking about is Sun Zheoxian, then I do know him." Curly's face suddenly fell. He begged hurriedly, "Brother, we are a flood that washed away the Dragon King Temple. Family members don't know each other. Please let me go. I won't dare to do it again." Slap. Su Chen slapped Curly in the face again. "Who the hell is your family? Don't try to be related to me." Curly looked sad. Su Chen threw him back to the gang. "There, kneel. Wait." Curly didn't dare to speak again. He had a sad face and pulled a group of gangsters to kneel there. Fortunately, the box was big enough. Even with more than a dozen people kneeling, it still seemed very empty, and it didn't affect Su Chen and others from continuing to eat and drink. It just felt a little weird. Su Chen returned to the table, and everyone looked at Su Chen with strange eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked. Gu Qingjun spoke first. "I didn't expect that Mr. Su was so good at fighting. I didn't expect that Mr. Su Chen was so familiar with an underground boss like Brother Ziyang." Zhu Dangxin was also surprised. Chu Xiangxin shook his head and said, "Mr. Su Chen is not familiar with Brother Ziyang, but he can order Sun Zheoxian around. Is that right, Mr. Su?" Su Chen smiled. "There is no such thing as ordering or not. We are all friends." Although he said so, everyone could hear that Sun Zheoxian was probably also obeying him. Everyone was slightly surprised. Sun Zheoxian, the underground overlord of the provincial capital, actually listened to Su Chen. Especially Gu Qingjun. Her beautiful eyes looked at Su Chen from time to time. She was a little curious about the background of this young man in front of her. He could actually make you feel the business tycoon of the provincial capital, and Sun Zheoxian, the underground overlord, respect him so much at the same time. In everyone's mind, the evaluation of Su Chen was raised again. Their attitude towards Su Chen also became more respectful. Several people continued to eat, drink and chat. Not long after, there was a knock on the door outside the box. Su Chen looked up and said, "Come in." The door of the box opened again. Sun Zheoxian strode in. Behind him was a group of younger brothers. Two of the younger brothers dragged a skinny middle-aged man. "Hello, Mr. Su." Sun Zheoxian clasped his fists respectfully. Su Chen nodded. Everyone was slightly surprised to see Sun Zheoxian's attitude. Sure enough, this Sun Zheoxian obeyed Su Chen's orders. Sun Zheoxian said respectfully, "Mr. Su, I have helped you to bring Gao Quanlin here. After being tortured, he said that it was Ko Cheng Wang of Quanyuan Pharmaceutical who paid him to attack you." Su Chen sneered. Just now, he was wondering who was going to deal with him. If it was the Bei family or the Ran family, they would never be so stupid as to send a few gangsters to die. Only Ko Cheng Wang, who doesn't know his own strength, would be like this. Now the result is indeed so. Sun Zheoxian said coldly, "Mr. Su, our people have gone to take Ko Cheng Wang. I believe that he will be sent to you in a short time." Everyone heard it and admired it in their hearts. As expected, he is the underground overlord of the provincial capital. He does things without leaking a drop of water. On the side, Gao Quanlin, who was pulled by two men, shouted hurriedly, "Mr. Su, please forgive me. I really didn't know it was you. It's all the fault of Ko Cheng Wang. This bastard didn't explain it clearly to me. I'm really innocent. Please forgive me." Su Chen said, "Let him shut up." Sun Zheoxian went straight forward and kicked Gao Quanlin hard. Bang! Gao Quanlin fell to the ground. Sun Zheoxian said fiercely, "Mr. Su told you to shut up, didn't you hear it? If you dare to make any noise again, I will cut off your tongue." Gao Quanlin trembled all over and shut up quickly. Su Chen smiled and said, "Mr. Sun, let him kneel over there. You come and sit down and have dinner together." Sun Zheoxian smiled and threw Gao Quanlin into the group of people with curly hair. "Kneel down there. If you dare to make any noise, I will beat you to death." Gao Quanlin knelt down next to curly hair and did not dare to speak. Su Chen introduced the two parties to each other. Everyone was very enthusiastic and toasted Sun Zheoxian one after another. This is the underground overlord of the provincial capital, and it is naturally beneficial to make friends with him. Sun Zheoxian also knew that these people had extraordinary identities and hurriedly returned the toast. The guests and hosts were all happy and soon became familiar with each other. Soon, Sun Zheoxian's younger brother returned, dragging a panicked Ko Cheng Wang. "Who are you, and why did you bring me here? Let me go." Ko Cheng Wang struggled and shouted. However, he was still held tightly by two strong men and pulled into the box. After Ko Cheng Wang entered the door, he saw Su Chen, Chu Xiangzhen and others, and his face was immediately shocked. He yelled, "Chu Xiangzhen, you dare to find someone to tie me up? You old bastard." Before he could finish his words, Su Chen stood up and walked to his side. Snap! A slap hit Ko Cheng Wang's face hard. "I asked someone to bring you here. Didn't you ask someone to remove my arms and legs? I asked you to do it yourself," Su Chen said coldly. Ko Cheng Wang's face was in a panic. He said in a panic, "What are you talking about? I don't understand what you mean. Are you still acting?" Su Chen sneered, "Turn around and look behind you." Ko Cheng Wang was stunned, then turned around and looked at the corner of the box. I saw Gao Quanlin, Juan Mao and others, all kneeling there neatly. Each of them lowered their eyebrows and dared not speak. Ko Cheng Wang was stunned, not knowing how to explain. Su Chen said coldly, "Do you want me to call Brother Black Dog to confront you? Whoever dares to lie, I will cut off one of his fingers." After the voice fell, Ko Cheng Wang shuddered. Gao Quanlin was even more flustered. He shouted hurriedly, "Mr. Su, it was this Ko Cheng Wang who gave me 3 million to cut off one of your arms and legs. What I said is the truth. The transfer record is in my mobile phone." Su Chen looked over, and Gao Quanlin quickly shut up. Ko Cheng Wang was even more panicked. Finally, he gritted his teeth and stared at Su Chen fiercely. "That's right. It was me who asked Gao Quanlin to deal with you. What's wrong? I warn you, it's best not to touch me, otherwise." Su Chen smiled. "What else?" Su Chen's contemptuous eyes stimulated Ko Cheng Wang. He said viciously, "I tell you, my godfather is the head of the 8 major families in the provincial capital. If you dare to touch me, you will die where I'm buried." "Oh, really?" Su Chen raised the corner of his mouth and asked, "Which family?" On the side, the faces of others changed. The 8 major families in the provincial capital are still very deterrent. Ko Chengwang said proudly. Li family. Li Xiaoshu from the Li family is my godfather. Su Chen was slightly stunned. Li Xiaoshu. That is the half-brother mentioned by Bincheng Li Xiaolei. Li Xiaoshu should be no more than 10 years older than Ko Chengwang. Ko Chengwang actually worshipped him as his godfather, which was really a big deal. Chu Xiangsun, Gu Qingjin and others were even more terrified. Although the Li family is not one of the top 4 families among the 8 major families, it is also a behemoth. Ordinary people can't afford to offend it. Chu Xiangsun's face was ugly. This bastard actually has such a background. It's really hidden. Ko Chengwang was immediately proud of himself when he saw this. He pouted and said, "Are you scared? If you are scared, let me go quickly. Otherwise, when my godfather comes, none of you can escape responsibility." As soon as the voice fell, bang, Su Chen slapped him in the face again. Ko Chengwang was stunned. He stared at Su Chen and shouted angrily, "I told you who my godfather is. How dare you hit me? Are you looking for death?" Su Chen said coldly, "Come on. Call your godfather now and ask him to come over." Everyone looked at Su Chen. Ko Chengwang was stunned for a long time before he came to his senses. "Okay, kid. You are brave enough. I will call my godfather now." He took out his mobile phone and dialed. "Godfather, please save me. I was taken to the 666 box of the Shark's Fin Palace Hotel by some bastards." The phone was hung up. Ko Chengwang stared at Su Chen. "Boy, you are dead. 3 chapters today. I can't bear it anymore. I will try to resume 4 chapters tomorrow. Good night, everyone." Chapter 558. Report your name. You're dead. Ko Chengwang looked at Su Chen with a smug look on his face. After calling Li Xiaoshu, he felt that he had regained the initiative. However, in response to him, he was slapped again. Bang. Ko Chengwang's face was swollen. He looked at Su Chen in disbelief. "How dare you hit me?" Su Chen said indifferently, "I'm teaching you. Don't be too happy before your backer arrives. At least, I can still beat you the way I want to." Ko Chengwang covered his face, full of humiliation. "Kneel at the door and wait for your godfather to come," Su Chen said coldly. Ko Chengwang glanced at Su Chen, and without saying a word, he ran to the door and knelt obediently. The slap from Su Chen just now woke him up. Now is not the time for him to be arrogant. After a while, his backer will come, and then he can control Su Chen, no matter how he wants to. "You son of a bitch, just wait. Wait for someone from the Li family to come. You'll be in trouble. I'm going to break all your bones, one by one." Ko Chengwang knelt outside the box, his eyes flashing with hatred. The waiters and others passing by were curious when they saw Ko Chengwang like this. A kind-hearted person came up to ask, "Sir, what's wrong with you? Do you need help?" Ko Chengwang looked humiliated. He blushed and cursed. "Fuck off. I'm fine. Don't bother me here. I like to kneel, okay? Get out." The people around him quickly dispersed. "Damn, you're crazy. That's right. You deserve to kneel. Don't be so vicious. Maybe someone died in their family, and they are kneeling here to pay their respects. Fuck, you're much more vicious than me." Hearing the sarcastic words of the people around him, Ko Chengwang's face turned blue and red. But he didn't dare to run away, so he could only hope that the Li family would come quickly. In the box, Su Chen sat back at the banquet. Chu Xiangsun was worried and said, "Mr. Su, I didn't expect that Ko Chengwang was actually related to the Li family. What should we do?" The Li family is one of the 8 major families in the provincial capital. The family power is extremely large, and there are many masters worshipping. Otherwise, let's withdraw quickly. In Chu Xiangsun's view, Su Chen is just an excellent doctor, and at most knows some people in entertainment and media companies. As for other connections, there is only Sun Zhaoxing left. But Sun Zhaoxing is considered an underground hero in the eyes of ordinary people. But in the eyes of the 8 major families in the provincial capital, he is just an underground rat. If you want to move, you can change one at any time. Wang Shen sneered on the side. These people don't know how powerful Su Chen is, but he knows it very well. Although Su Chen is in the Xianshan realm, he can already fight with the immortals on land. To some extent, he is a master of the god realm in the skin of the Yuan Qi Grandmaster. With such strength, even the top 4 families among the 8 major families would never dare to provoke. What's more, the Li family is only a mere lower 4 family. Sun Zhaoxing, who was standing aside, was even calmer. He knew more about Su Chen. He knew that Su Chen had attacked the Bei family, forced the entire Bei family to bow their heads, and asked the Bei family to pay 20 billion yuan in compensation, and was even forced to spit out the assets of the Han family that they had swallowed. The Bei family, the leader of the 8 major families in the provincial capital, had to admit defeat, let alone the Li family. You know, the Bei family has a master of the divine realm in charge. Seeing Chu Xiangzhen's worry, Zhu Ziqiang comforted him. Uncle, don't worry. Since Mr. Su has taken action, he naturally has a bottom line in his heart. You don't know that Mr. Su has a very close relationship with Boss Yu File. With Boss Yu File here, there is no need to worry too much about the Li family. On the side, Gu Qingjun also smiled and said, indeed, I used to work in Boss Yu's company. Because Mr. Su's entertainment company needed it, Boss Yu waved his hand, and I followed Mr. Su. In her opinion, Su Chen's confidence was also Yu File. After hearing the two people's persuasion, Chu Xiangzhen nodded. So, Dr. Su also knows Boss Yu File. That's easy. Boss Yu File, although not from the 8 major families in the provincial capital, is very powerful. Even if he is from the 8 major families in the provincial capital, he has to give him face. Chu Xiangzhen has completely believed that this is Su Chen's confidence. Su Chen's expression was slightly stunned. He didn't plan to find Yu File at all. He chuckled, but didn't explain. Everyone knew what was going on, so they didn't worry about it, and continued to drink and eat. Not long after, a luxury car stopped at the entrance of the Shark Fin Palace Hotel. A middle-aged man with a stern face stepped out of the car. This person was Li Chunming, the son of Li Zhaoxiu, the head of the Li family in the provincial capital. Speaking of which, he and Li Chunren from Bincheng are also cousins. Behind Li Chunming, there were 2 old men in their 50s. The 2 wore green training clothes. Each of them was full of Zhuanjin, and they were masters of Zhuanjin at a glance. Li Chunming walked into the hotel with a frosty face. Soon, he brought people to the door of box 666. As soon as he arrived here, he saw Ko Chengwang kneeling at the door of the box. Li Chunming's face was ugly. Although he didn't like Ko Chengwang very much, he was the godson of his father Li Zhaoxiu after all. Now, Ko Chengwang was punished to kneel at the door of the box, which was also a slap in the face of the Li family. Li Chunming shouted, Ko Chengwang. Ko Chengwang looked up, his face full of surprise. He quickly got up. Brother, you are finally here. Where is my godfather? As he spoke, Ko Chengwang looked around, looking for Li Zhaoxiu. Li Chunming said, my dad didn't come. Your little thing won't bother my dad. He sent me to save you. A trace of disappointment flashed in Ko Chengwang's eyes. Brother, you have to be careful. That bastard is very powerful. I'm afraid that, if my adoptive father didn't come, I wouldn't be able to control him. Li Chunming sneered. Don't worry. I'm here to represent the will of the Li family, so he dares to be arrogant. What's more, I brought Master Liu and Master Zhao. With the 2 Zhuanjin masters here, no matter how arrogant that bastard you mentioned is, the 2 masters can subdue him. Ko Chengwang turned his eyes to the 2 masters with surprise. Seeing the 2 men's imposing manners, he was immediately delighted. Okay, I'm relieved. As he spoke, Ko Chengwang stood at the door of the box. Brother, that bastard is inside. Let's go in and deal with him. This bastard, I told him about my adoptive father's identity, but he still dared to hit me. This guy doesn't take the Li family seriously. I must teach him a lesson. Li Chunming nodded. Well, go open the door. Okay. Ko Chengwang agreed, then jumped up and kicked the door open. Bang. The door of the private room suddenly opened and then slammed against the wall. Clang. A loud noise shook the private room. Ko Chengwang stepped into the private room with a smug look on his face. Behind him, followed Li Chunming and 2 Zhuanjin masters. In the private room, everyone looked over immediately. Su Chen looked at him coldly and said lightly, Ko Chengwang, you don't learn from others, but you are very good at taking advantage of others. Which leg you kicked the door of the private room with will be broken in a while. Hearing this, Ko Chengwang was immediately furious. "You little bastard, you dare to be so arrogant." He pointed at Li Chunming and sneered. "Do you know who this is? Mr. Li Chunming, the son of my godfather Li Zhaoshu, and the future successor of the Li family in the provincial capital. Before my brother Li came, you were so arrogant. Now that my brother is here, you are still so arrogant. Then my brother came here in vain, right?" Su Chen sneered. "You are right. He really came here in vain." Li Chunming looked at Su Chen coldly and said in a cold voice, "Boy, I thought that Ko Chengwang was exaggerating before, but it turns out you are so arrogant. Boy, tell me your name. I will leave you a whole body." Ko Chengwang hurriedly stepped forward. "Brother Chunming, this bastard is called Su Chen." After these words fell, Li Chunming's face turned pale and his whole body trembled. Su Chen. Next chapter 130. Chapter 559. Invincible under the divine realm. Crack. Li Chunming was struck by lightning, and his ears were buzzing. Looking at Su Chen's young face, his mind went blank, and the sneer on his face froze instantly. Li Chunming never dreamed that the person Ko Chengwang offended was Su Chen. In the past few days, Su Chen's reputation has been spread in the provincial capital. First, he made a big fuss in the Zhou family, and then he attacked the Bei family. You know, the Bei family is one of the 8 major families in the provincial capital, and there are land immortals sitting in the house. Although the Bei family tried to cover up the fact that Su Chen made a big fuss in the Bei family, some news still came out. Many people have already found out what happened in the Bei family. Su Chen first defeated Shen Yuanling, who had just entered the realm of martial arts, and then killed the immortal master Qiu Kangiying, and finally killed the Bei family. In the Bei family, he slaughtered 5 grandmasters, dozens of Zhuanjin masters and ordinary guards, and directly wiped out the Bei family's worship power. In the end, even if the old martial god Bei Langxiang came out, Su Chen still took a hard move and retreated. The big shots who found out about these things, their evaluation of Su Chen was summarized in one sentence. It is not necessarily possible to kill someone in the god realm, but there is no one who is invincible below the god realm. And the Li family was the family that found out about this matter. After knowing this, Li Zhaoshu also specifically instructed Li Chunming, "If you are not absolutely sure, you must give way to Su Chen in the future." Li Chunming stared at Su Chen. His whole body was extremely nervous. According to the information in his hands and his understanding of Su Chen could easily kill someone. Even if he was the future head of the Li family, it would not make any difference. Su Chen stood up and looked at Li Chunming coldly. "Li Chunming of the Li family, is it ambiguous? What advice do you have?" Li Chunming's face was pale and his lips trembled. He forced himself to remain calm on the surface, but he kept thinking in his heart about what he should say. Ko Chengwang, who was standing aside, had no idea of Li Chunming's psychological activities. "Hey, kid, you still dare to be so arrogant?" Ko Chengwang glared at Su Chen, then said to Li Chunming, "Brother, the Quaniuan pharmaceutical business was ruined by this guy. Hurry up and let Master Liu and Master Zhao take action to teach this bastard a lesson." Chu Hanzhang and Chu Xiangxin looked at each other. It turned out that the Li family was behind the Quaniuan pharmaceutical business. After Ko Chengwang finished speaking, he looked at Li Chunming expectantly. However, Li Chunming suddenly turned his head. Snap. Li Chunming raised his hand and slapped Ko Chengwang hard on the face. In an instant, the whole box was silent. Everyone looked at Li Chunming in surprise. Only Su Chen sneered. Ko Chengwang looked at Li Chunming with a confused face. There were 3 words written on his face. "Why?" Without waiting for him to speak, Li Chunming shouted, "Do I know you? Am I familiar with you? I heard that Mr. Su was having dinner here, so I came here to toast." Ko Chengwang? He just wanted to ask one question now. "Li Chunming, didn't I call you here? Why are you here to toast?" But Li Chunming now had no time to deal with him. Li Chunming walked up to Su Chen and said respectfully, "Mr. Su, I'm Li Chunming. Nice to meet you." As he spoke, he stretched out his hand to Su Chen. But Su Chen didn't even stretch out his hand and said sarcastically, "So Mr. Li came here to toast me? I wonder where your wine is?" Li Chunming blushed. His eyes rolled quickly, and then he slapped his head. "Oh, look at my memory. I forgot to bring the wine." I'll go back and get it. As he spoke, Li Chunming was about to leave. At this time, Su Chen said coldly, enough. Li Chunming, stop pretending to me. If you want to help KO Cheng Wang, just do it. If you don't want to, go back to where you came from. Li Chunming didn't say anything after being scolded by Su Chen. On the contrary, he just smiled awkwardly and said, then I won't bother Mr. Su. Mr. Su, please say hello to my uncle on my behalf. As he spoke, Li Chunming bowed and slowly stepped back. His cautious appearance was quite like the eunuchs entering and leaving the emperor's study in the past. Chu Xiangsun, Gu Qingjun and others were completely dumbfounded. This is the future heir of the Li family in the provincial capital. Facing Su Chen, he was so cautious and even scared like a mouse. In an instant, Su Chen became more mysterious in their eyes. At this time, KO Cheng Wang was also dumbfounded. No matter how stupid he was, he could see that Li Chunming was very afraid of Su Chen. Seeing Li Chunming was about to leave, KO Cheng Wang hurriedly shouted, Brother Chunming, don't go. Before he could finish, Li Chunming kicked KO Cheng Wang hard. KO Cheng Wang was kicked to the ground. Li Chunming stared at him and gritted his teeth and said, fuck you. Do I know you? Asshole. If you dare to get close to me again, I will kill you. After saying that, Li Chunming smiled flatteringly at Su Chen again, and then quickly disappeared with the two Zhuanjin masters. KO Cheng Wang looked desperate and turned to look at Su Chen. Mr. KO, it seems that your backer is not reliable. Su Chen sneered again and again. KO Cheng Wang was stunned. Then, he knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Su Chen frantically. Mr. Su, I was wrong. Please, forgive me. I won't dare to do it again. I will be a good boy in the future. I will work hard in Quaniuan Pharmaceutical and never make trouble again. Su Chen said coldly, it sounds good, but I don't believe it. After that, Su Chen shouted to the outside of the door, Captain Li, please come in and take them away. The next second, Li Yan, dressed in uniform, appeared in front of everyone with a team of police symbols. Hello, Mr. Su. Li Yan saluted Su Chen respectfully. Other police symbols followed suit. Su Chen smiled. After KO Cheng Wang called the Li family, Su Chen sent a message to Li Yan to explain the situation here. Not long after Li Chunming arrived, Li Yan arrived. Su Chen pointed at KO Cheng Wang and Gao Quanlin and said, this KO Cheng Wang hired someone to hurt someone. He paid 3 million to ask this black dog to remove my arms and legs. I hope Captain Li will take him to interrogate him. Yes. Li Yan saluted again. Then, he asked his men to come forward and handcuff KO Cheng Wang, Gao Quanlin and others. KO Cheng Wang's face was horrified. Let me go. I won't dare to do it again. With the transfer information and Gao Quanlin's identification, he might not be able to escape jail. This time, he might never be able to turn over in his life. On the side, Chu Xiangxin and Chu Hanzhang were overjoyed. If KO Cheng Wang squatted in, Quaniuan Pharmaceutical would be able to calm down quickly. Let me go. Mr. Su, please. KO Cheng Wang cried, and tears streamed down his face. Wait a minute. Li Yan stopped hurriedly. KO Cheng Wang's face was happy. However, Su Chen glanced at him and continued to say to Li Yan, Captain Li, this KO Cheng Wang should have committed other duty-related crimes. After Mr. Chu investigates, he will organize the relevant information and send it to you. Right, Mr. Chu? Su Chen looked at Chu Xiangxin with a smile. Chu Xiangxin nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. We at Quaniuan Pharmaceutical will immediately launch a special investigation into KO Cheng Wang and will not let go of any of his violations of regulations and disciplines. KO Cheng Wang's face suddenly turned pale as paper. Now, his prison sentence may have to be postponed. Li Yan said hello to Su Chen and took everyone away. Soon, the box was quiet again. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Su Chen. I encountered some things today, so let it go. Good night, everyone. I'm really sorry. I will do my best to resume 4 updates tomorrow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 560 Takeaway Dumplings. In the box, everyone looked at Su Chen in shock. Only Sun Zhaoxiang and others had roughly guessed something. Chu Xiangsun, Gu Qingjun and others originally thought that Su Chen was going to bring up Yufule. As a result, Su Chen didn't even mention it, and Li Chunming was so scared when he heard Su Chen's name that he retreated. For a moment, everyone was very confused. Chu Xiangsun was the first to ask, Mr. Su, that Li Chunming, he seems to be a little afraid of you. Gu Qingjun was also curious. Yes, I feel that he won't be so scared when he sees the Bei family. Su Chen smiled. I have done some things that the Li family dare not offend me. He didn't say it clearly. After all, if it was something like hitting the Bei family, even if it was said out loud, everyone would not dare to believe it. Everyone looked at each other, guessing in their hearts that Su Chen must have done something extraordinary. On the side, Zhu Ziqiang secretly glanced at Zhu Dangxun, feeling very fortunate. Fortunately, when this rebellious son had a conflict with Mr. Su before, he did not expand the feud. Otherwise, he would not know how he died. Chu Hanzhang was even thinking about how he should hold on to Su Chen's thighs. Everyone was relieved that Ko Cheng Wang's problem was solved. The atmosphere among the group was even more lively. Soon, everyone said goodbye to each other after having enough food and drink. Originally, Wang Shen wanted to send Su Chen home, but Gu Qingjun took the initiative to offer to send Su Chen. Wang Shen smiled and said nothing more. Gu Qingjun drove the car and Su Chen sat in the passenger seat. The window was slightly open, and a gust of cool breeze blew in. Gu Qingjun smiled and said, Mr. Su, you are so capable. You have great medical skills, martial arts skills, and even your connections are so powerful. Su Chen smiled. Not bad. I have suffered a lot too. Now, his practice is progressing by leaps and bounds, mainly benefiting from his grandfather's devilish training when he was a child, which laid a supreme foundation for his practice. Gu Qingjun smiled and asked, Mr. Su, a man as outstanding as you must have very high standards for choosing a spouse, right? Su Chen turned to look at Gu Qingjun and saw a blush on her face. He smiled and said, whether it is martial arts or medicine, you need to concentrate on it. At present, my martial arts are still improving, and I don't have any ideas in this regard for the time being. Gu Qingjun was stunned. She asked in surprise, you are so powerful, do you still want to continue to practice hard? How many years will it take? Su Chen smiled and said, the road of martial arts is endless. I'm afraid that countless cultivators will be blocked by the innate realm to the divine realm alone. Some people may be stuck for 10 years. Even worse, they will be stuck for a lifetime. A look of disappointment flashed across Gu Qingjun's face. However, she quickly adjusted her mood. Then I wish Mr. Su success soon. Thank you. Su Chen smiled. Then, the two chatted casually for a few words. A smile flashed across Su Chen's heart. He could also hear the hidden reason behind Gu Qingjun's words. However, he had no interest in Gu Qingjun. Of course, Su Chen would not look down on Gu Qingjun because of this. This woman, who could achieve such a career in the workplace at the age of about 30, has proved that she is a woman with a strong sense of career and purpose. Once she has a goal, she will immediately execute it. It is normal for her to be moved when Su Chen showed such strength. Gu Qingjun's ability to adjust her mentality is first class. When Su Chen showed that he had no intention of that, she immediately returned to the role of a subordinate. It was as if everything just now had never happened. Soon, Su Chen arrived at Jiu Tang Shengfu. The two parted ways. Su Chen walked downstairs to his unit and was about to enter the door. Suddenly he looked up and looked upstairs. Su Chen smiled. After swiping the access card to enter the corridor, Su Chen did not directly press Zhou Wanqiu's floor, but directly chose the top floor. Soon, he arrived at the top floor and walked onto the rooftop. At this time, an old man in a black training suit was sitting cross-legged. Around him, the rolling energy was like a dragon. It was Meng Diqiu. Mr. Meng, you are here. Thank you for your hard work. Su Chen smiled and bowed. Meng Diqiu opened his eyes and stood up. He bowed and said respectfully, Mr. Su, since I promised to protect Miss Zhao for you, I must hurry to work. Su Chen nodded. Mr. Meng, if you have any urgent matters and need to leave, you can tell me in advance. Also, if you think this job is embarrassing, you can also tell me in advance. I dare not. Meng Deqiu bowed quickly. Mr. Su, you saved my life. I'm already grateful. Why should I talk about face? I just hope that, if Mr. Su enters the God realm in the future, and achieves great achievements, don't forget me, an old man. Meng Deqiu smiled flatteringly. Obviously, Meng Deqiu is willing to condescend to be Zhou Wanqiu's bodyguard now, not just because Su Chen saved his life. More importantly, Meng Deqiu values Su Chen's potential. Su Chen is a dual practitioner of medicine and martial arts. Moreover, he can fight in the God realm at the Xianshan realm. This kind of strength, if it were to step into the realm of God, would only be more terrifying. Meng Deqiu was certain that Su Chen would definitely stand at the top of the martial arts world in the future, so he chose to hug his thighs now. Su Chen nodded and smiled. Meng Leo worked for me. I will definitely not forget you in the future. Meng Deqiu smiled when he heard this. Su Chen chatted with him for a few words, then said goodbye and left. Walking back to Zhou Wanqiu's 801, Su Chen unlocked the door with his fingerprint. As soon as he entered the room, he saw a plate of handmade dumplings on the dining table. There was still some flour on the kitchen floor that had not been swept clean. Su Chen was surprised. Are these dumplings made by Zhou Wanqiu? She can cook. Click. Zhou Wanqiu seemed to hear the movement outside, opened the door and walked out. Seeing Su Chen, his face suddenly turned cold. Huh. You still know how to come back. Now you are really capable. You don't stay at home all day. It's comfortable to hang out outside, right? Zhou Wanqiu's tone was very much like a wife complaining about her husband. Zhou Wanqiu seemed to realize this, and her pretty face turned red. HMPH. She glanced at Su Chen and asked, have you eaten? Su Chen was about to say that he had. However, seeing Zhou Wanqiu's expression, he immediately changed his words. No. Zhou Wanqiu scolded with a cold face. I don't know what you are busy with every day, and you even forget to eat. Don't starve yourself to death one day, and you don't even know it. As she spoke, Zhou Wanqiu directly picked up the dumplings on the table, and walked into the kitchen. These are the dumplings are left over. I wanted to throw them away. Since you didn't eat them, I'll heat them up for you. As she spoke, Zhou Wanqiu walked into the kitchen, heated up the dumplings, and brought them out. Then, she said with a look of disgust, HMPH. Eat it. It's a waste to throw it away anyway. Okay. Thank you. Su Chen picked up the chopsticks, and ate them up directly. Zhou Wanqiu raised her lips, then asked with a stern face, is it delicious? She seemed to be afraid that Su Chen would misunderstand, and hurriedly explained, if it's not delicious, I won't order to hear it from this handmade dumpling shop in the future. Su Chen laughed in his heart, nodded repeatedly, and said, delicious. Very delicious. The handmade dumplings in this shop are the best I've ever eaten. Their business must be very good, right? Zhou Wanqiu's face was happy, but she said, huh, I can see that you have never eaten anything good. I think it's just average. As she spoke, Zhou Wanqiu raised her chin and turned back to her room happily. Su Chen raised his voice and asked with a smile, which shop is this? I'll order to hear it from this shop later. Clang. There was a sound of something knocking over in Zhou Wanqiu's bedroom. Then, Zhou Wanqiu's slightly panicked voice came. I just ordered it casually. I can't remember it. Su Chen deliberately asked, doesn't the Takiat ordering software have a record of ordering Takiat? Can't you take a look? I don't have time to look. Zhou Wanqiu said unreasonably. Su Chen smiled secretly in his heart. He gritted his teeth, put another plate of dumplings into his stomach, and washed the plate. Su Chen washed up and changed his clothes. Zhou Wanqiu was already lying in bed. Su Chen, don't forget, accompany me to meet a friend in a few days. Zhou Wanqiu said. Su Chen smiled. Okay, I remember it. The two chatted for a while before turning off the lights and resting. The next day, early in the morning, Su Chen received a call and his face changed immediately. There should be 4 updates today, but 2 of them will not be posted until 2 or 3 o'clock. Chapter 561. Prayer is answered. Ding ling ling. Su Chen was having breakfast with Zhou Wanqiu when he suddenly received a call. It was Yu Fei who called. He answered the call quickly. "Mr. Su, please, save my sister." Yu Fei's panicked voice came over. Su Chen was startled and asked quickly, "Don't worry, tell me, what happened to your sister?" Yu Fei said hurriedly, "Mr. Su, my sister had an accident this morning when she went for a morning run. She was running, and suddenly a car rushed out. A martial arts master knocked down all the bodyguards and kidnapped my sister. Now, there is no trace at all. Yu Fei has been very careful these 2 days. Even when Yu Zenai was running, there would be bodyguards following her. Who would have thought that even so, something would still happen?" Su Chen's face changed slightly. He said quickly, "Okay, I'll be there right away. Don't worry." As he spoke, Su Chen hung up the phone. He looked up at Zhou Wanqiu. Zhou Wanqiu said coldly, "Busy man, you are going out to save the world again, right?" Su Chen smiled awkwardly and was about to explain, "I'm going to save people." Zhou Wanqiu waved his hand directly. Go. Save whatever you want. I can eat breakfast more comfortably without you." Su Chen turned around and left in a hurry. Bang. The door closed. Zhou Wanqiu put down his chopsticks and stopped eating. Humph, this bastard. On the other side, Su Chen used the wind character technique with all his strength. Soon, he arrived at Fuelin Hotel. This is Yu Fei's property, so naturally there are fixed rooms for their brothers and sisters. Yu Fei and Yu Zenai have been living here for the past 2 days. Yu Zenai was also running downstairs and was suddenly taken away. When Su Chen arrived, Yu Fei was already waiting downstairs. Beside him, there were Li Yan and other police symbols in uniform. It seems that Yu Fei has called the police. Seeing Su Chen coming, a group of people came up to greet him. "Mr. Su, you are here." Everyone greeted him respectfully. Su Chen nodded and asked directly, "What's the situation now? Can the surveillance find it?" Yu Fei shook his head regretfully. Li Yan explained, "Mr. Su, this time, the other party was wearing sunglasses and a mask, so we couldn't see his appearance clearly. And the car driven by the criminals was a fake license plate car, and there was no information at all. Moreover, after leaving the second place, the other party immediately changed his route and took a small road, entering the blind spot of the surveillance, and could not find any trace. In this case, there is no way to find Miss Yu in a short time." Yu Fei looked anxious. The other party kidnapped Zenai. There must be some conspiracy. If she can't be found in a short time, Zenai will definitely be in trouble. "Captain Li, please think of a way." Li Yan looked helpless. "Mr. Yu, now we can only compare the surveillance videos nearby bit by bit and carefully look for suspected vehicles. But this is not an easy job. It will take a long time to get results. Our people are already dealing with it urgently. Obviously, this method can't satisfy Yu Fei." He sighed and looked dejected. At this time, Su Chen suddenly spoke. "I have a solution." Everyone's eyes were immediately fixed on Su Chen. Yu Fei looked at Su Chen with a look of surprise. "Mr. Su, what do you have in mind?" Su Chen smiled faintly and said, "Please send someone to Miss Yu's room to find Miss Yu's personal belongings. If possible, it would be better to find her hair or nails." Everyone was shocked and didn't understand what Su Chen was going to do. However, Yu Fei didn't care about that and quickly asked someone to get it. Soon, someone came with the long hair. "Mr. Su, this was found on Zenai's comb. She has some misophonia and doesn't like others to touch her things. It should be her hair." Su Chen nodded. "That's good." As he spoke, he took out a handful of talisman paper. Everyone looked at the talisman paper that looked like a ghost painting, and they were immediately confused. Li Yan asked, "Mr. Su, what are you doing with this?" Su Chen smiled, "Looking for Miss Yu." 2 words suddenly appeared in Li Yan's mind. Ridiculous. If someone told her that this talisman could be used to find someone, she would definitely slap him in the face. However, when Su Chen said this, she did not dare to voice her doubts. Su Chen saw Li Yan's eyes and immediately understood what she was thinking. Su Chen smiled. "This talisman is called a tracking talisman, and it is specially used to find people." However, the people around him still looked at him as if he were a charlatan, especially the group of police symbols who came with Li Yan. If they had not heard of some of Su Chen's deeds, they would probably step forward and handcuff Su Chen as a liar. Su Chen was helpless. This tracking talisman was obtained from Bincheng, the crazy monk of 10 perfections, in Yicheng. At the beginning, Su Chen had used one and successfully found Qiu Hong, who was hiding in the dark, and set fire to Gao Zepeng's chemical plant. At that time, those people in Yicheng did not believe it. But Su Chen's operation blinded their eyes. Now, it's the turn of Li Yan and others. Yu Fei was also a little nervous. He looked at Su Chen and asked, "Mr. Su, is this talisman really useful?" Su Chen did not explain. He took the hair and wrapped it directly in the tracking talisman. Then, he folded the tracking talisman along a certain trajectory. Su Chen held it in his palm and chanted a spell. The sky and the earth are boundless. The grey crane is tracking. Command. In the eyes of everyone, Su Chen at this moment is undoubtedly more like a charlatan. However, the next second, puff, a flame suddenly burned from the folded talisman paper package. Damn it. Everyone was shocked. But the next scene made them dumbfounded. The talisman paper was burned up in an instant, and the hair inside was also burned clean. However, the ashes of the burning paper condensed into a shape in an instant. A grey crane made of paper ashes flapped its wings and flew up. Oh my god. What is this? Am I dazzled? Is this a magic trick? For a moment, all the police symbols felt that their unshakable atheism had been impacted. Yu Fei was also stunned on the spot. Su Chen did not explain too much. He said to Yu Fei, "Mr. Yu, wait a moment, I will bring Miss Yu back." As soon as the voice fell, the grey crane transformed from the talisman paper, flapped its wings, and flew away into the distance, and Su Chen followed instantly. In the blink of an eye, the figures of one man and one crane disappeared. Only a group of confused people were left at the scene. Just now, the one who flew away was the grey crane transformed from paper ashes? Li Yan asked, scratching her head. Yes. Yu Fei's eyes showed excitement. And, he went to find my sister. Everyone felt that this was like a fairy tale. But, it happened right in front of them. For a moment, no one knew how to evaluate it, and could only wait patiently for Su Chen to see if this was true. On the other side, Su Chen's figure followed the grey crane, crossing one obstacle after another. Even the cars on the road were much slower than Su Chen. Soon, the grey crane walked on a rarely traveled path. Su Chen followed closely. Finally, the grey crane landed on the roof of a black car. In the black car, Yu Zhenyu sat in the passenger seat with a terrified face. Next to her, a middle-aged man wearing sunglasses and a mask was driving the car without saying a word. Yu Zhenyu tried to secretly call for help, but the middle-aged man just waved his hand and her phone exploded into pieces. Later, Yu Zhenyu also tried to chat with him in an attempt to persuade him, but he didn't say a word. Watching the car getting farther and farther away, Yu Zhenyu's eyes were red, and she was terrified. "Brother, Mr. Su, you must come to save me quickly." Yu Zhenyu had just finished praying. Suddenly, bang, a loud bang suddenly exploded. A familiar figure suddenly appeared on the road ahead. It was Su Chen. Su Chen's figure appeared in front of him like a god descending from the sky. Yu Zhenyu's heart was instantly filled with surprise and emotion. Her prayers were answered. "Mr. Su." Yu Zhenyu's eyes were red and tears rolled down drop by drop. However, the man in sunglasses driving the car didn't change his expression at all. He stepped hard on the accelerator. But, the whole car burst into a roar. Then, it accelerated and crashed into Su Chen. Next update, around 1:30. Chapter 560 to the controlled Grandmaster. The car speeds up and rams towards Su Chen in front of it. "Ah. Su Chen, get out of the way." Yu Zhenyu's face was startled, and she shouted loudly. However, Su Chen still stood in the middle of the path. Looking at the car getting closer and closer, his face was filled with coldness. In the blink of an eye, the car had already rushed to Su Chen. Su Chen's face was calm, and he slowly stretched out his hand. Boom. He slapped the front of the car with one palm. Boom. A violent noise suddenly exploded. The high-speed car came to an abrupt stop in an instant. The two people in the car suddenly rushed forward and were strangled by the seatbelts. The man in sunglasses stepped on the accelerator again. Boom boom boom. The car made a buzzing sound like a beast. The tires also rotated rapidly on the spot, and there was a smell of burnt leather. Su Chen held the front of the car tightly with one hand, preventing it from moving forward. Bang! Su Chen slapped again. The car retreated a few meters, and then instantly stalled. The man in sunglasses looked indifferent, and pushed the door, to get out of the car. Su Chen looked at the man with a strange look in his eyes. The man in sunglasses said nothing, raised his hand, and punched Su Chen fiercely. The terrifying vitality instantly condensed into a mountain and pressed down. Su Chen looked calm, and greeted it with a palm. Boom. The man in sunglasses flew backwards, and fell to the ground, rolling several times. Su Chen's fist strength, even without the 9 extreme strength amplification, is not something that ordinary innate strongmen can withstand. The man in sunglasses stood up, and the sunglasses and mask on his face had slipped off. He had blood at the corners of his mouth, but he was still fearless, and rushed towards Su Chen fiercely. Su Chen's eyes condensed slightly, and looked at the man's eyes. I saw that this middle-aged master of vitality had a slightly dull look in his eyes, and seemed to be abnormal. In the blink of an eye, he had already rushed to Su Chen. The fists condensed the surging vitality, and he attacked Su Chen directly without any defense. Su Chen punched out with lightning. Boom. Puff. The middle-aged key master spat out a mouthful of blood, and was instantly knocked back by the punch. However, he seemed to be unaware. Bang, bang, bang. The man hit himself hard several times. Puff. He spat out another mouthful of blood. The next second, the middle-aged master's key was filled with blood. He continued to rush towards Su Chen like a ferocious beast. Bang, bang, bang. Every step he took, a deep pit exploded on the ground. That was the uncontrollable ki and blood power in his body. Obviously, this person used self-mutilation to catalyze the blood and ki in his body to fight Su Chen. Su Chen snorted coldly, looking for death. As the words fell, Su Chen no longer showed mercy, and the black thunder ki in his body surged wildly. Bang! The ki, like thunder slurry, instantly pierced the scarlet ki and blood power, and exploded directly on the middle-aged master. The next moment, the middle-aged master flew out more than 10 meters away like a rag doll. He was covered in blood and was dying, but he still wanted to get up and attack Su Chen. However, his body could no longer support it. Puff. The middle-aged master fell to the ground again and stopped breathing. Su Chen frowned. This middle-aged master seemed to have lost his mind. Or, he had been controlled by someone else. To be able to control a strong man in the innate realm, the person behind the scenes must have reached a certain level in the cultivation of mental power. Su Chen shook his head and ignored this person. He walked to the front of the car, opened the door, and untied Yu Zhenyu. Ah. Su Chen, you came to save me. That's great. I was scared to death. Yu Zhenyu ran out of the car and rushed directly into Su Chen's arms, crying with snot and tears. Su Chen was quite embarrassed to hold Yu Zhenyu in his arms. However, it was not easy for him to push her away, since Yu Zhenyu was crying like this. Su Chen had to pat Yu Zhenyu on the back to comfort her. After a long time, Yu Zhenyu slowly calmed down. She came out of Su Chen's arms. Su Chen's clothes were already wet on the chest. Yu Zhenyu's pretty face turned red, a little embarrassed. She hurriedly said, Su Chen, thank you. You saved me again. Su Chen smiled. You're welcome. By the way, do you know who this person is? Did he chat with you in the car? Su Chen asked. Yu Zhenyu pursed her lips and shook her head. I don't know who he is. This person is a big taciturn person. No matter what I say to him, he ignores me. Su Chen nodded. He was 90% sure that this person was controlled. Okay, let's go back. Your brother is almost scared. Su Chen said. Yu Zhenyu nodded. Yeah, Su Chen directly put the body into the trunk and then let Yu Zhenyu drive back. At the entrance of Fuelin Hotel, everyone is still waiting. Yu Fule kept walking back and forth, not at all like a big boss in the provincial capital business community. On the side, Li Yan also wanted to comfort, but didn't know how to start. Yu Fule looked at Li Yan suddenly and asked, Captain Li, do you think Mr. Su can bring my sister back? Li Yan smiled bitterly. Yu Fule was too concerned and confused, and he began to need comfort from others. The corners of her mouth twitched, and she said, Mr. Yu, I'm not sure about this matter. Mr. Su Chen is resourceful and has great magical powers. From this point of view, he should be able to succeed. Yu Fulei's face suddenly showed surprise. However, Li Yan continued, but Mr. Su burned the talisman paper and turned it into paper ash and flying cranes. This looks too much like a magic trick. I think it doesn't seem very reliable. This thing has no scientific basis at all. Others around also echoed. Yes, I don't think it's reliable either. Maybe Mr. Su saw that Mr. Yu was nervous, so he performed a magic trick to tease Mr. Yu. Yeah, I think so too. If you can find someone with just a hair and a talisman, then what's the point of a camera? Most people here don't believe in Su Chen's method. Hearing these words, Yu Fulei's face immediately fell again. At this moment, a black car slowly drove towards the crowd. At this time, a bodyguard shouted, "Isn't this car the car that kidnapped the lady?" Everyone looked over immediately. The car stopped. The figures of Su Chen and Yu Zhenyu stepped out. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Especially those who were still doubting Su Chen's method just now. Their eyes widened, and their mouths were reluctant to close. My god, they actually found it. Yu Fulei was excited, his eyes red. Zhenyu. He ran towards Zhenyu. Yu Zhenyu also looked excited. Brother, I'm back. Su Chen saved me. Yu Fulei's face was surprised and happy. He looked at Su Chen and bowed repeatedly. Mr. Su, thank you. At this moment, in his heart, Su Chen was no less than a god. Li Yan also came up. Mr. Su, did you really find Miss Yu with a butterfly that turned into ashes from the talisman paper? Su Chen nodded. Yes. Otherwise, why would I do that? Yu Fulei interrupted. Mr. Su, they all thought that you were doing a magic trick to comfort me. Su Chen was speechless. These people have really big imaginations. Yu Zhenyu asked curiously, what kind of magic? Yu Fulei explained. Immediately, Yu Zhenyu's eyes widened. She looked at Su Chen and asked in surprise, Su Chen, you can also do this kind of magic? Su Chen smiled and said, this is not a magic, this is a Taoist technique. On the side, Li Yan interrupted, Mr. Su, can you explain this principle to us? If we can learn it, it may be easier to solve the case in the future. Su Chen shook his head, it's too late. Li Yan was stunned. Su Chen smiled and said, it's not that I'm keeping it to myself. If you want to learn it, you have to go up the mountain and practice Taoism for more than 10 years. Everyone gave up immediately after hearing this. Su Chen then said to Li Yan, the guy who kidnapped Miss Yu is in the trunk. You just need to drive the car away. As for the identity of the person inside, see if you can find it. If you can't find it, hand it over to the tiger guards. Li Yan nodded. Okay, Mr. Su. Then, she led the people to drive away. Su Chen, with the Yu brothers and sisters, entered the VIP reception room of Fulin Hotel. The three sat down. Yu Fulei poured a cup of tea for Su Chen. Mr. Su, this is the tea from the mother tree of Dahang Pao in Wuai Mountain. Please try it. Su Chen was slightly surprised. This Yu Fulei, indeed, is worthy of being a big boss in the business world. He can actually get this thing. Su Chen checked the information, and it seems that this tea is much more expensive than gold. After taking a sip, Su Chen nodded. He doesn't understand tea, but he feels it's good. To be honest, it's not as good as the medicinal tea that grandpa brewed. Su Chen put down the teacup and asked, by the way, didn't Guan Yuanshan of the Wumeng promise to provide Miss Zhenyu with a bodyguard at the peak of the Xianshan realm? Hasn't he arranged a bodyguard at the peak of the Grandmaster realm? Hearing this, Yu Fulei's face darkened. The third update will be the next one. Everyone go to bed around 3 o'clock. Chapter 563 Shameless. Before, Yu Fulei wanted to invite the masters of the Wumeng to protect Yu Zhenyu, but he encountered Qi Yaoi of the Wumeng, who raised the price. Su Chen helped Yu Fulei, injured Qi Yaoi, and called Guan Yuanshan, the fifth elder of the Wumeng. In the end, he forced him to send a master at the peak of the Xianshan realm at a low price of 15 million. Although the price was indeed a bit low, Su Chen believed that Guan Yuanshan would not dare not send it. However, now, the result is indeed that the master was not sent. Su Chen sneered. Guan Yuanshan has become bolder and dared to stand me up. Haha. Yufei sighed and said, Guan Yuanshan has the Wu Meng as his backer, so he is naturally not afraid of us. Su Chen's eyes showed a trace of coldness, let alone a land immortal. Even if it is a real immortal, you can't break the promise you made to me. As he spoke, Su Chen stood up. Yu Zhenyu asked hurriedly, Su Chen, what are you going to do? Su Chen smiled and said, go to the Wu Meng, find Guan Yuanshan, and fulfill your promise. Mr. Su, you must not do that. Yufei hurriedly stopped him. There are so many masters in the Wu Meng. Guan Yuanshan is just one of the 5 elders, and there are 4 elders above him. Moreover, the elders in the Wu Meng are not the strongest. It's just because the other innate masters are fully committed to cultivation and don't want to participate in management. So, there are other innate masters in the Wu Meng who are stronger than you. In addition, the leader of the Wu Meng is said to be a master of the level of a land immortal. Yufei was afraid that Su Chen would act impulsively, so he hurriedly told Su Chen about the strength of the Wu Meng. After hearing this, Yu Zhenyu was also nervous. Su Chen, don't go. We will find other masters to protect me. If it doesn't work, I will follow you every day in the future. At this point, Yu Zhenyu's pretty face turned red. Su Chen was stunned, then shook his head. No, this is not a long-term solution. In fact, he thought of Zhou Wanqiu. If Zhou Wanqiu saw Yu Zhenyu following him every day, who knows what would happen. The Yu siblings wanted to persuade him again. But Su Chen smiled and said, don't worry, I will act according to the situation. Besides, even a strong man in the god realm may not be able to keep me. Seeing Su Chen's insistence, Yufei and Yu Zhenyu had no choice. The two sent Su Chen downstairs. At this time, a waiter came forward. Behind him, there was a middle-aged man in black tights. The waiter said to Yufei, Mr. Yu, this gentleman said he wants to see you. Yufei was startled and looked at the middle-aged man. Who are you? The middle-aged man hurriedly bowed. Mr. Yu, my name is Feng Kaiang, and I'm a subordinate of Elder Guan Yuanshan. Su Chen and the Yu siblings were shocked. Mr. Feng, what can I do for you? Yufei asked. Feng Kaiang said quickly, Mr. Yu, our Elder Guan is in trouble, and he asked me to come to you. I hope you can help me contact Mr. Su Chen. Elder Guan asked me to pass a message to him. The 3 of them were stunned. It turned out that Feng Kaiang in front of him didn't know Su Chen at all. Yufei pointed at Su Chen and said, this gentleman is Su Chen. Feng Kaiang was shocked. He turned his head to look at Su Chen, and immediately bowed respectfully. Are you Mr. Su Chen Su? I'm here to tell you something. Entrusted by our Elder Guan. The 5th elder tried hard to apply for Miss Yu Zhenyu's bodyguard, but was rejected by the 2nd elder Wang Changbing. Moreover, the 2nd elder accused the 5th elder of betraying the martial alliance, and teamed up with the 3rd and 4th elders, to severely injure the 5th elder. The 5th elder's cell phone was also destroyed in the battle. He lost your contact information, so he asked me to come and find Mr. Yufei. Elder Guan hopes you know that he is not going back on his word. Moreover, Elder Guan said that if he is seriously injured or dies, he hopes you can help protect his family. Feng Kaiang finished speaking in one breath. Su Chen and the other 2 immediately understood what had happened. What hatred does the 2nd elder of the martial alliance have with us brothers and sisters? Why did he reject our employment application? Yufei was very angry. Su Chen said coldly, I'm afraid I can only ask him in person about this matter. Then, Su Chen looked at Feng Kaiang. Take me to find Guan Yuanshan. Feng Kaiang was startled. Why are you going to find the 5th elder? Why? Su Chen rolled his eyes. Of course to save him. Are we going to kill him? Feng Kaiang was immediately delighted. Okay. Come with me. I'll drive you there. As he spoke, he hurried out the door. Su Chen smiled. This Feng Kaiang is quite sincere to Guan Yuanshan. Su Chen was about to follow him. The Yu siblings opened their mouths to persuade him. Su Chen spoke first. Don't worry, you two. I won't be stupid, and I won't buy in the martial alliance. The Yu siblings smiled helplessly. Su Chen turned and left. Yu Zhenyu looked at Su Chen's back, with a nervous look on his face. Brother, will Mr. Su really be okay? No. Yufei said in a deep voice. People like Mr. Su Chen have always been confident in their strength. When he says he wants to do something, he is sure he can really do it. Don't worry. Yu Zhenyu felt a little relieved. On the other side, Su Chen got into Feng Qiang's car and drove quickly to Guan Yuanshan's home. Guan Yuanshan's home is also a single family villa. At this time, there was a wailing sound in the hall of the single family villa. Guan Yuanshan was covered in blood and fell on the sofa. On the side, there were family members crying non-stop. Guan Qinghe stood aside with a panicked look on his face. Guan Yuanshan was seriously injured and dying, and his bacca was about to be finished. The future of the Guan family will definitely be sad. Moreover, the sad days may have started from now on. Guan Qinghe looked at a man with mixed grey hair in the hall of the villa. This person is the fourth elder of the Wu Meng, Zhou Liange. In the Wu Meng, Zhou Liange is a petty and bad guy. He is the kind of person who will suffer if he doesn't take advantage. Now, Guan Yuanshan is seriously injured and dying, but he is running here, and he must have no good ideas. Zhou Liange looked at the crying people coldly and suddenly spoke. Shut up. Brother Guan isn't dead yet, but you're crying to death. His voice was like that of a drake. Harsh and unpleasant. However, combined with his identity and strength, no one dared to say a word. On the sofa, Guan Yuanshan breathed rapidly, and his tiger eyes looked at Zhou Liange in doubt. He didn't know what the bastard in front of him wanted to do. Zhou Liange looked at Guan Yuanshan with a smile. Brother Guan, look at your popularity. You've been in the martial alliance for so many years, and I'm the only one who sent you home when you were seriously injured. Guan Yuanshan was stunned. It was obviously the second elder Wang Changbing, the third elder Li Gongqing, and this Zhou Liange who worked together to seriously injure him. This bastard actually has the nerve to say this now. But now he is under someone's roof, so he has to bow his head. Thank you, brother Zhou. Guan Yuanshan took a deep breath and said. Zhou Liange smiled. You're welcome. I'm a man of brotherly loyalty. Before, I attacked you, brother, because I followed the orders of the second and third elders. I hope you can understand, brother Guan. Guan Yuanshan remained silent. He was not sure what the purpose of this bastard in front of him was. Zhou Liange smiled and said, Brother Guan, look, you have come to this point. How are you going to live with your family in the future? Alas, I will take a little loss as your brother and help you take care of things. Guan Yuanshan was stunned. Did this bastard change his temper? Thank you, brother Zhou. Guan Yuanshan thanked. Zhou Liange waved his hand. You're welcome. Then, he changed the subject and said, unfortunately, my strength is low. I'm afraid it will be difficult to protect my brothers and their families. Brother Guan, your 8-armed ahad fist is extraordinary. I wonder if you can give it to me. Also, it's not easy for me to support your family. It's reasonable for me to give half of Brother Guan's property, right? Guan Yuanshan was stunned. You. This bastard actually coveted his skills and property. Puff. Guan Yuanshan was so angry that his blood rushed back, and he spit out a mouthful of blood. Zhou Liange said, look at you, you're too happy. This is what I should do. Guan Yuanshan was so angry that he trembled. Zhou Liange sneered, Brother Guan, make a will quickly, and then give me the 8-armed ahad fist. Otherwise, without me to protect your family, they might have to accompany you. Everyone in the Guan family was panicked. And Guan Yuanshan was even more desperate, trembling all over. Before, he asked Feng Qiang to find Su Chen to prevent such a thing from happening after death. But he didn't expect that Zhou Liange would not even wait until he died. Son of a bitch. Don't even think about it. Guan Yuanshan cursed. Zhou Liange's face darkened. I'm loyal to others, and I hate it most when others are disloyal to me. Brother Guan, you disappoint me so much. As he spoke, Zhou Liange hit out with a palm. Bang! Guan Qinghe, who was standing aside, flew out directly. His body hit the wall hard, and then fell to the ground. Ah! Guan Qinghe screamed and rolled over in pain. Qinghe! Guan Yuanshan shouted. The other Guan family members around him also showed fear on their faces, and retreated again and again. Zhou Liange sneered. Brother Guan, why don't you guess? In the underworld, will you reincarnate first, or will your brother reincarnate first? Guan Yuanshan's face was full of pain. At this time, a voice came from outside the door. I think, why don't you, Zhou Liange, reincarnate first? Everyone was stunned. Then, they all turned their heads to look. They saw a young figure stepping into the door and appearing in front of everyone. It was Su Chen. in an instant. Guan Yuanshan's face was ecstatic. The 4th update is here. Good night everyone. Finally recovered. Try to keep it up tomorrow. Chapter 564 Go to the Martial Alliance. Mr. Su. Guan Yuanshan was surprised to see Su Chen. He had only sent Feng Qiang to tell Su Chen, but he did not expect Su Chen to come to him. At this moment, Guan Yuanshan was very moved. Guan Qinghe, who was groaning in pain on the ground, was also very surprised. However, Su Chen just nodded to Guan Yuanshan and turned to look at Zhou Liange. Just now, when he came here with Feng Qiang, he heard about some despicable and shameless deeds of Zhou Liange. Su Chen had also thought that Zhou Liange and Guan Yuanshan did not get along, so Feng Qiang exaggerated. However, now it seems that this bastard is even worse than what Feng Qiang said. Zhou Liange also stared at Su Chen coldly. Asshole, who are you? Su Chen smiled. I'm a person who loves to fight for justice. When I see some shameless people or things, I want to take care of them. I have to say that your shamelessness is beyond my imagination. Zhou Liange's face turned black. HMPH. Boy, you have a sharp tongue. I just don't know if your bones are as hard as your mouth. As soon as the voice fell, Zhou Liange stomped his feet. Bang! The whole floor tile burst instantly. Zhou Liange's figure rushed to Su Chen in the blink of an eye. Go to hell. With a hint of cruelty on his face, he slapped Su Chen's chest with a palm. Su Chen snorted coldly. Then, he made a lightning move. The next second, Zhou Liange felt his hand tighten. Then, he saw that Su Chen had grabbed his wrist. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. Zhou Liange's heart suddenly panicked. With this level, you still want to learn extortion? Su Chen's face was full of ridicule. Zhou Liange's old face flushed. Asshole, you are looking for death. As soon as the voice fell, Zhou Liange kicked Su Chen with his leg. However, before he could lift his leg, Su Chen lifted him up. Zhou Liange instantly lost his balance and flipped into the air. Then, Su Chen dodged to the other side and kicked fiercely. Bang! A kick hit Zhou Liange in the chest. The terrifying force instantly destroyed Zhou Liange's body protection. Zhou Liange only felt that he was hit by a train, and his internal organs instantly felt severe pain. Ah! With a scream, Zhou Liange flew backwards. Boom! His body fell directly onto the rockery in the yard, and countless rubble collapsed and almost buried him. In an instant, everyone was shocked. The 4th elder of the dignified Wu Meng fell down in Su Chen's hands before he could last around. Even Guan Yuanshan was shocked. Ahem. Zhou Liange climbed up from the rubble of the rockery. He staggered and was covered in blood. Asshole, you dare to hurt me. Do you know that I'm the 4th elder of the Wu Meng? If you hit me, you hit the face of my Wu Meng, you are dead. Zhou Liange couldn't even stand steadily, but he shouted like crazy. Since joining the Wu Meng, he has never suffered such a big loss. Su Chen sneered. If you dare to bark again, I will not only hurt you, I will beat you to death directly. Su Chen's words were light and casual, but it was like a heavy hammer, hitting Zhou Liange's heart hard. He didn't dare to bet whether Su Chen would do this. Zhou Liange looked like he wanted to say something harsh but didn't dare, which was very funny. Su Chen said coldly, go back to your Wu Meng, tell those bastards, I will come to your door and ask for an explanation. Everyone's face changed again. Su Chen didn't count the beating of Zhou Liange, but he was even going to hit the Wu Meng. Zhou Liange's face changed several times. He said quickly, okay, I'll go back and help you convey it. You'd better keep your word. Come if you dare. Zhou Liange was just looking for a reason to leave, and Su Chen gave him a chance to get out of trouble. Su Chen said coldly, get out. Otherwise, I'll change my mind. Zhou Liange didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore, and turned around and ran away. Su Chen walked back to the hall of the villa. For a moment, everyone in the Guan family looked at Su Chen with 3 parts of fear and 7 parts of gratitude. After all, if Su Chen hadn't intervened just now, I'm afraid the Guan family would be bullied to death by Zhou Liange. Guan Yuanshan looked at Su Chen and said gratefully, Mr. Su, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, our Guan family would. At this point, Guan Yuanshan's tears fell. He knew that after his death, the Guan family would not have an easy life. but he didn't expect it to be so miserable. Su Chen stepped forward, and everyone quickly made way. Who hurt you? What happened? Su Chen asked. Guan Yuanshan said with a weak breath, it was the second elder Wang Changbing, the third elder Li Gangqing, and the fourth elder Zhou Wanqiu just now. Originally, I had identified a master for Miss Yu, but Wang Changbing stopped me. Su Chen asked, why did he stop me? Guan Yuanshan explained. He said that there was a master who wanted to deal with the Yu family. No one can help the Yu family, because I have already promised you, so I argued with him. Before, our Wu Meng has never participated in disputes with other forces. His behavior has violated the alliance rules. But, Wang Changbing, that bastard, framed me for betrayal and alienation from the Wu Meng, and also brought shame to the Wu Meng. Not only did he want to remove me from the position of elder, but he also joined forces to seriously injure me. Su Chen's face darkened. It seems that the person who wants to deal with the Yu brothers and sisters is really powerful. Not only can he control the innate masters, but he can also make the Wu Meng, which has always been neutral, change its position. Su Chen immediately felt that he should go to the Wu Meng to find out who the other party is. At this time, Guan Yuanshan looked at Su Chen with a pleading face. Mr. Su, can I ask you for a favor? What is it? Su Chen asked. Guan Yuanshan said, after I die, the enemies I have offended before will definitely not let my family go. Please protect them. Hearing this, all the Guan family members couldn't help sobbing. But Su Chen shook his head. Sorry, I refuse. Guan Yuanshan was stunned, and the expectation on his face instantly turned into despair. The next second, Su Chen continued, I'm busy. How can I protect your family at this time? You should take care of it yourself. Huh? Guan Yuanshan was stunned. Then, he looked at Su Chen with wide eyes. Mr. Su, what did you say? Su Chen smiled and said, I mean, I want to cure you, and let you do this job yourself. Without waiting for Guan Yuanshan to speak again, Su Chen directly threw his hand. Dozens of silver needles instantly pierced Guan Yuanshan's body. The people around were shocked. They wanted to stop him, but they didn't dare to step forward. Su Chen ignored them, and continued the treatment. Acupuncture, acupressure, massage. After a while, Guan Yuanshan's complexion became better and better. Soon, Su Chen put away his silver needles. Smash. Guan Yuanshan stood up and saluted Su Chen excitedly. Mr. Su, thank you, I'm fine. You are amazing. My internal organs were all damaged, but you cured me. I kowtow to you. Guan Yuanshan was so excited that he didn't know what to say. He knelt down and kowtowed to Su Chen. On the side, other members of the Guan family also knelt down. Su Chen saved Guan Yuanshan, which was equivalent to saving the entire Guan family. He deserved the Guan family's thanks. Even Guan Qinghe, who had a hatred of bowls with Su Chen, struggled to get up and kowtowed to Su Chen regardless of the injuries on his body caused by Zhou Wanqiu. Su Chen helped Guan Yuanshan up and asked everyone to stand up. Don't be polite. Speaking of it, your serious injury was also caused by me. Su Chen said. Guan Yuanshan shook his head. That's not the case. Wang Changbing has always had a grudge against me, and he will target me sooner or later. Thank you, Mr. Su, for giving me a chance to live again. Su Chen smiled. Guan Yuanshan hesitated and asked, Mr. Su, can you also help treat my brother? He was just seriously injured by that bastard Zhou Wanqiu. Su Chen turned his head and looked at Guan Qinghe, who was supported by Guan's family. Guan Qinghe looked embarrassed. Su Chen didn't say anything. After a simple treatment, Guan Qinghe was able to move freely. Thank you, Mr. Su. Guan Qinghe said gratefully. Guan Yuanshan also came over to thank him. Then, he asked, Mr. Su, what should we do next? Su Chen said coldly, it's very simple. Go to the Wu Meng. For a moment, Guan Yuanshan was stunned. Chapter 565. Kill them all. Hearing that Su Chen was going to the martial alliance, Guan Yuanshan looked nervous. The Guan family members beside him also looked very good. After all, they still had some understanding of the strength of the martial alliance. Guan Yuanshan advised, Mr. Su, you'd better give up this idea. The strength of the martial alliance is very strong. Not only does it have 4 elders, but there are also many masters, but they are obsessed with cultivation and rarely show up. and our leader Zhang Lang, who is a land immortal and a generation of martial gods. Although he hasn't appeared for a long time, if you knock on his door, he may not come out. Su Chen looked indifferent. Don't worry. I'm just asking for an explanation for you, and asking another question by the way. Guan Yuanshan looked like he wanted to cry. He wanted to say, I really don't need you to help me ask for an explanation. But when the word came to his lips, Guan Yuanshan still held back. At this moment, an urgent call came from outside the door. Fifth Elder. Elder Guan, how are you? Su Chen turned his head and saw Qi Yaowei running in quickly. Qi Yaowei walked in and saw Su Chen was also here, and his face immediately showed surprise. After all, Qi Yaowei had previously raised the price for the brothers and sisters of the Du family and was finally taught a lesson by Su Chen. Hello, Mr. Su. Qi Yaowei smiled awkwardly. Su Chen looked at Qi Yaowei's expression and his heart moved slightly. However, he just nodded and said nothing. Qi Yaowei turned his head to look at Guan Yuanshan. When he saw the healthy Guan Yuanshan, he was stunned for a moment. Fifth Elder, your injury is healed. Qi Yaowei looked unbelievable. Guan Yuanshan smiled and said, it's all thanks to Mr. Su that I can recover so quickly. I estimate that after a few more days of recuperation, I will be the same as before. Qi Yaowei showed a look of shock. Mr. Su, you actually know medical skills. It's really amazing. Su Chen smiled. Guan Yuanshan looked at Qi Yaowei and asked, Qi Yaowei, what are you doing here? Qi Yaowei immediately stepped forward. Elder Guan, you don't know that. As soon as you left the Martial Alliance, Wan Changbing announced that you were dismissed as the fifth elder and expelled from the Martial Alliance. In addition, our group of warriors who were close to you have also begun to be excluded and suppressed by Wan Changbing. I came to see your physical condition and hope that you can lead our brothers again. Hearing this, Guan Yuanshan looked guilty. It's me who harmed the brothers. Qi Yaowei sighed. Elder Guan, the brothers don't blame you. It's just that everyone is not having a good time in the Martial Alliance now, and many of them want to quit. Hearing this, Guan Yuanshan gritted his teeth and looked at Su Chen. Mr. Su, I think you are right. We have to go to the Martial Alliance. Even if we can't get any explanation, we have to take those brothers who are close to me out safely. We can't let them suffer anymore. Su Chen nodded. Okay. Let's set off now. Great. Qi Yaowei's face was happy. Then, Su Chen and Guan Yuanshan walked out and walked away. Qi Yaowei deliberately fell behind by 2 steps. Looking ahead, at the backs of Su Chen and Guan Yuanshan, a cold smile instantly condensed on Qi Yaowei's face. The next moment, 2 short blades slid from his sleeves to his hands. There was a little blue light on the short blades, which were poisoned at a glance. Whoosh! Qi Yaowei stabbed Su Chen and Guan Yuanshan at lightning speed. These 2 people were very close to Qi Yaowei, and their backs were facing Qi Yaowei, so how could they defend themselves? Be careful. Everyone in the Guan family shouted. But it was too late. Qi Yaowei's mouth showed a smug smile. The next second, Su Chen's figure flashed in an instant. Qi Yaowei's eyes were blurred. In the blink of an eye, Su Chen was already standing opposite him. Qi Yaowei was shocked. Immediately, he no longer cared about Guan Yuanshan. Go to hell. Qi Yaowei gritted his teeth and stabbed the 2 short blades in his hands into Su Chen's chest. Bang, bang. There were 2 crisp sounds. Qi Yaowei felt that his double blades were like stabbing into a steel plate. The next second, the 2 short blades broke instantly. Clang, clang. Qi Yaowei was shocked. Your body. Are you surprised? Su Chen sneered. Then, he kicked out. Boom. The terrifying vitality was like a monster roaring, instantly bombarding Qi Yaowei. Puff. Qi Yaowei spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. His body flew straight out for more than 10 meters, before falling heavily in the lobby of the villa. Crash. All the Guan family members hurriedly dispersed. Guan Yuanshan also turned around, and he looked at Su Chen with gratitude. Mr. Su, thank you for saving me again. Su Chen waved his hand. It's okay. But you are indeed too careless. Before, when Qi Yaowei saw Su Chen, when he just entered the door, although he acted very surprised, but Su Chen could see at a glance that Qi Yaowei knew he was in the Guan family. The surprise he felt when he saw himself was not as real as Guan Yuanshan's surprise when he saw his health recover. Moreover, Su Chen noticed 2 poisonous blades hidden in Qiyao's sleeves when he scanned with his mental power. So he had been on guard against him. In the end, this bastard really made a move. Guan Yuanshan looked at Qiao with a look of doubt. Why did you do this, you bastard? Guan Yuanshan stared at Qiao. He was furious. Just now, if Su Chen had not been prepared, he would have died in vain at the hands of this bastard. Qiao's face was full of pain. He struggled to get up and knelt on the ground. Mr. Su, Elder Guan, please forgive me. It was Wang Changbing, he and Elder Li Gongqing, and Elder Zhou Wanqiu who forced me to assassinate. If I don't come, they will kill me. I have no choice. Qiao was in so much pain that he was crying. While crying, he knelt and crawled towards the 2 of them. Please, both of you, forgive me. Qiao begged, and then raised his hand suddenly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Several ox-hair-thin needles instantly enveloped Su Chen and Guan Yuanshan. Qiao's figure retreated violently. He approached just now to release the poison needles. Su Chen snorted coldly. He flashed and waved his left hand in the air. In the blink of an eye, Su Chen caught all 8 needles as thin as ox hairs. Boom. The sound of wind and thunder exploded. Su Chen's figure was already blocking Qiao. Qiao's face was shocked. Su Chen snorted coldly and struck out with a palm. Boom. A stream of mysterious thunder energy hit Qiao. The next second, Qiao was collapsed back to the original place. He was shocked. You pinched the poison needles. How can you be fine? Su Chen turned his head and looked at his left hand. I saw that the 8 poison needles were slowly lingering with black mist, spreading towards Su Chen's fingers. However, it was like a mud cow entering the sea, without a trace. This poison needle is indeed quite toxic, but it's not strong enough to poison me, Su Chen said coldly. Qiao stared at Su Chen. Then, his head tilted, and he died with his eyes wide open. Qiao was also unlucky. If it weren't for him, he would have succeeded. Guan Yuanshan came forward. He said with gratitude, Mr. Su, thank you for saving my life again. Su Chen smiled and said, Mr. Guan, you are a little careless. Guan Yuanshan nodded, yes. As he spoke, he looked at the fine needle in Su Chen's hand. This poison needle should have been given to Qiao by the 3rd Elder Li Gongqing. Li Gongqing specializes in poison skills. His poison needle cannot be touched even by the Yuan-Qi Grandmaster. How can you, Mr. Su? Su Chen said, this kind of poison is not qualified to be used against me. Guan Yuanshan was shocked. Su Chen glanced at him and said calmly, it seems that this Wu Meng wants to kill you immediately. What do you think? Should we go find them once? Guan Yuanshan's face darkened. We must go. Next chapter, within 20 minutes. Chapter 566 The Exiled Person. This time, Guan Yuanshan agreed to go to the Wu Meng very straightforwardly. Before, he didn't want to go to the Wu Meng because he was afraid of causing more trouble. But now it seems that, even if he doesn't go, his enemies in the Wu Meng will not let him go. While Su Chen is still here, he dares to show his teeth to the people of the Wu Meng. Once Su Chen leaves, Guan Yuanshan may have to run away with his family. As for the Wu Meng leader's identity as a martial god, Guan Yuanshan doesn't care. Anyway, Su Chen is not afraid, so he just holds on to his thigh. Mr. Su, let's go now. Guan Yuanshan gritted his teeth. Su Chen nodded. I'll bring Qiao's body and confront them face to face. Guan Yuanshan did what he said. When he went out, Guan Yuanshan threw Qiao's body into the trunk and then drove Su Chen to the Wu Meng. The Wu Meng headquarters is located in a huge manor outside the city. The location is at the foot of the mountain, close to the river. The mountains are green and the water is beautiful, and the environment is very good. In the manor, huge martial arts arenas can be seen everywhere. At this time, in the center of the manor, there is a huge meeting hall where 3 people are sitting. At the top, there are 2 empty seats. Below, there are 3 people sitting on the left and right. The person in the front is a black-faced old man who is the 2nd Elder Wang Changbing. The other 2 are the 3rd Elder Li Gongqing and the 4th Elder Zhou Wanqiu. At this time, Zhou Wanqiu has taken a bath and changed clothes and is no longer in the embarrassed look before. Wang Changbing looked at Zhou Liange and asked, "Fourth Elder, I heard that you went to Guan Yuanshan's house before. Did you gain anything?" A gloomy look flashed across Zhou Liange's face. "What a gain? I just went to comfort Guan Yuanshan." Wang Changbing sneered. "Fourth Elder, this is not your character." Zhou Liange smiled. "That's because you don't understand me. Haha." At the side, the third elder Li Gongqing laughed. "This time, I guess the fourth elder didn't get any advantage. I heard from my subordinates that when the fourth elder came back, his face was furious and his body was in a mess." Zhou Liange's eyes turned cold. "Li Gongqing, you have a lot of spies." Li Gongqing smiled. "Not many. It's just that the fourth elder was too careless when he came back, and he made a fool of himself and was seen by others. You." Zhou Liange's eyes were cold. Wang Changbing interrupted quickly. "That's enough. Stop arguing. We are already familiar with the fourth elder's personality. It's no big deal. Besides, it's only right to take advantage of Guan Yuanshan. This bastard has always been at odds with us. Let him die in peace." Li Gongqing and Zhou Liange both nodded. However, the young man who went to Guan's house later was really not simple. "I'm worried that Qi Yaoi may not succeed," Zhou Liange said with a gloomy face. Li Gongqing smiled. "Don't worry. Qi Yaoi has my soul-destroying poison needle in his hand. As long as he can find a chance to release it, someone will definitely die." He was very confident in his poison needle. Zhou Liange sneered. "I hope so." Li Gongqing looked at Zhou Liange and said disdainfully, "Don't think that my poison needle will become ineffective just because you are taught a lesson. People you can't deal with are not a problem for me at all." Zhou Liange looked grim. Wang Changbing smiled and tried to smooth things over, saying, "Okay. It's not about who is powerful or not, it's just about who is more suitable. Since the fourth elder said that the boy is powerful, it will obviously save us more effort to let Qi Yaoi take the poison needle, so why not do it?" Li Gongqing's face was full of pride. He laughed and said, "Don't worry. Qi Yaoi will come back with the body later. When the time comes, I will ask him to give the body to you, Zhou Liange, so that you can vent your anger." Zhou Liange glared. "You." At this moment, a servant ran in. Several elders, the fifth elder. Wang Changbing shouted, "What fifth elder? From now on, call him Guan Yuanshan." The servant quickly changed his words. "Several elders, Guan Yuanshan is here." On the side, Li Gongqing hurriedly asked, "Is it that Qi Yaoi came back with Guan Yuanshan's body?" The servant was stunned. He shook his head and said, "There is a body, and there is Qi Yaoi. It is Guan Yuanshan who came back with Qi Yaoi's body." "What?" For a moment, Li Gongqing was stunned. Wang Changbing and Zhou Liange also stood up. How is it possible? Guan Yuanshan was severely injured by them. How come he is back now? Go and have a look. Several people hurriedly stood up and ran outside. At this time, at the gate of Wumeng Manor, Su Chen and Guan Yuanshan were stopped by a group of Wumeng warriors. Guan Yuanshan was holding Qi Yaoi's body in his hand. Among the warriors on the opposite side, the leader was named Wang Lesuo, the son of the second elder Wang Changbing. Wang Lesuo stared at Guan Yuanshan and shouted angrily, "Guan Yuanshan, you are no longer a member of our Wu Alliance. What are you doing here in our Wu Alliance? Also, you killed Qi Yaoi, the innate master of our Wu Alliance, and brought his body to our door. This is trampling on the dignity of our Wu Alliance. I order you to put down Master Qi's body immediately and kneel down to surrender. Otherwise, our Wu Alliance will hunt you down to death." Guan Yuanshan said angrily, "Wang Lesuo, don't fucking pretend with me. I'm the fifth elder, appointed by the Lord of the Alliance, and your father Wang Changbing has no right to dismiss me. And this Qi Yaoi even ambushed and plotted against me, and I captured and killed him on the spot. Qi Yaoi said that he was sent by your father Wang Changbing, and I'm here to settle accounts with him." Wang Lesuo's face changed. "Bullshit." He cursed. "You, an exiled person, actually dared to frame our second elder of the Wumeng. You are simply courting death." Feng Kuang, Li Xinghu, Zhao Guangliang, Chu Qingyan, Yiping. As he spoke, Wang Lesuo named a few people and continued, "You guys, go up and capture this traitor. Fight to the death. If you can't do it, you guys will die to pay for your sins." Guan Yuanshan's face suddenly turned ugly. The few people chosen by Wang Lesuo, this bastard, were all his good subordinates in the past. Now, he let these people deal with him, and the fight is not over until he is dead. Feng Qiang and others immediately showed embarrassment on their faces. Wang Lesuo immediately cursed, "You bastards, are you going to disobey orders too? I understand. It turns out that you, like Guan Yuanshan, have betrayed the martial alliance." Feng Qiang and others looked tense. "We didn't." "Then do it." Wang Lesuo sneered. "Remember my words. Fight to the death. If you can't kill him, you will die." Feng Qiang and others had no choice but to look at Guan Yuanshan and rush up directly. Guan Yuanshan was a little overwhelmed. Su Chen patted his shoulder. "Leave it to me." The next second, Su Chen pinched his hands. A complex mark condensed in an instant, and the terrifying mental power spread out to form a mental force field. Spiritual seal. Explode. In an instant. Feng Qiang and others only felt a pain in their heads, and then rolled their eyes and fainted on the ground. Guan Yuanshan was confused. Wang Suolei was even more furious. "Asshole, you dare to ruin my good thing. You are looking for death." As soon as the voice fell, Wang Suolei rushed directly towards Su Chen. His cultivation has reached the level of Zhuanjin. Hercules fist. A punch came with a sonic boom. Su Chen smiled coldly and punched back. Wang Suo's face lit up. His Hercules fist was inherited from his father Wang Changbing, and it was the most powerful when facing him head on. Most people who fight him will always suffer. However, his fist just touched Su Chen. Crack. The crisp sound of bone breaking instantly burst out. Then, there was a burst of explosions. Bang, bang, bang. Wang Lesuo's fist exploded to the arm. Puff. He flew backwards and fell heavily to the ground. One of Wang Lesuo's sleeves was completely soaked with blood. "Ah. My arm. My arm." Wang Lesuo was in great pain and rolled wildly on the ground. The other warriors of the surrounding martial alliance were immediately terrified. At this moment, a shocking roar came. "Son." The figure of the second elder Wang Changbing appeared quickly. Behind him, there were also the third elder Li Gangqing and the fourth elder Zhou Liange. The next chapter may not be until 2:30, so don't wait. Good night. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 567. One punch flies away. Son. After a roar, Wang Changbing's figure soon appeared beside Wang Lesuo. Seeing Wang Lesuo's miserable appearance, Wang Changbing's eyes were red. On the side, Li Gangqing and Zhou Liange were also surprised. Wang Lesuo is Wang Changbing's only son, and he uses Wang Changbing's Hercules fist. But now, his arm was blown off. In the future, I'm afraid his martial arts path will be half-wasted. The two looked at Guan Yuanshan and Su Chen with a look of gloating. Su Chen looked at the two coldly. Li Gangqing was shocked to see the healthy Guan Yuanshan. Medicine and poison are inseparable. He knew Guan Yuanshan's injuries very well, which were basically fatal injuries. But now, he can actually jump around, which makes Li Gangqing very confused. Looking at Qiyao's body on the side, Li Gangqing was even more puzzled. Qiyaoi was originally a person Guan Yuanshan trusted. If he got close to Guan Yuanshan and attacked with a poison needle, even if it was just a scratch, Guan Yuanshan would die. As a result, Guan Yuanshan is fine, but Qiyaoi is dead. Li Gangqing was in a state of confusion. Zhou Liange looked at Su Chen with some fear. Before, the horror that Su Chen showed in Guan's house made him dare not look directly at him. Zhou Liange quietly moved back. He had made up his mind. If he really had to fight with Su Chen, he must be the last one to let Li Gangqing take the lead. Wang Changbing, on the other hand, put all his heart and soul on his son. Bang, bang, bang. Wang Changbing pressed several acupuncture points on Wang Lesuo in succession to stop the bleeding. Then, he asked several disciples to carry his son to rescue. After dealing with all this, he stood up and stared at Su Chen and Guan Yuanshan. "Guan Yuanshan, you bastard, you dare to bring people back and hurt my son." Wang Changbing gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with anger. Guan Yuanshan retorted, "Why can't I come back? My position as the 5th elder was conferred by Alliance Master Zhang. What qualifications do you have to dismiss me? And your son, a mere ordinary Zhuanjin master of the Wumeng, is blocking an elder of mine. This is just a lesson for him. Wan Changbing's face was as cold as frost. You will regret it. You have no right to touch my son. I have no right. I moved him. What can you do? Guan Yuanshan sneered. Then, he shouted, I would like to ask you, I have the right to apply for a peak Xianshan realm. What qualifications do you have to refuse me? You are just an elder at the same level as me. What right do you have? Wan Changbing said coldly. I said no, that's no. You must give me an explanation. Guan Yuanshan said sternly. He always remembered that Su Chen's goal was to find out who was preventing the Yu family brothers and sisters from hiring Xianshan realm masters. Wan Changbing shouted coldly, Guan Yuanshan, you are so arrogant. You are lucky to escape with your life. Now, you dare to come to my door and be arrogant. I think you are looking for death. As soon as the voice fell, Wan Changbing rushed directly to Guan Yuanshan. Humph. I'm not afraid of you, even if we fight alone. Guan Yuanshan was also angry, and went straight to meet him. Hercules fist. Wan Changbing's vitality rolled all over his body, and on his pair of iron fists, terrifying vitality condensed instantly. It looked like he was wearing a pair of boxing gloves the size of a boulder. A punch was thrown, and a strong wind blew. Guan Yuanshan was not afraid at all. 8-armed Ahad fist. The rolling vitality instantly condensed behind Guan Yuanshan. In the blink of an eye, Guan Yuanshan seemed to condense several arms and hit Wan Changbing. Bang, bang, bang. The fists of the two collided violently. Wan Changbing's every move was powerful and heavy, breaking the trick with force. Guan Yuanshan transformed into an 8-armed Ahad and used many strange moves. The terrifying vitality and the crazy bombardment. Invisible waves rippled out like ripples. The ordinary warriors around retreated one after another. Even Zhao Lianj and Li Gongqing showed a cautious look. Only Su Chen looked indifferent, as if he didn't notice. Looking at the two people who were inseparable in the field, the third elder Li Gongqing's eyes flickered. He sank his right hand. Suddenly, a fine needle was in his hand. Just as he was about to secretly throw it at Guan Yuanshan, Su Chen's eyes suddenly looked at him. Li Gongqing raised his eyes and saw a pair of eyes full of warnings. Boom. Li Gongqing's whole body tensed up. For some reason, he felt like he was being stared at by a prehistoric beast. Li Gongqing had a feeling. If he dared to move, he would be struck by thunder. Li Gongqing hesitated for a moment. In the end, he put away the poison needle in his hand. After all, it was not worth taking risks for Wan Changbing. On the battlefield, Guan Yuanshan and Wan Changbing were still fighting fiercely. Wan Changbing became more and more anxious. He thought that Guan Yuanshan's cultivation was weaker than his. But now it seems that the opponent is no worse than him. He was seriously injured before because of the victory of the majority. Wan Changbing was furious. Suddenly, he thought of Guan Yuanshan's weakness. Before, Guan Yuanshan was seriously injured by the three elders. And the most seriously injured part of Guan Yuanshan was the left side of his body. His left leg and left shoulder were seriously injured by them. Now, even Guan Yuanshan seemed to be getting better. But Wan Changbing could see that his left side was slower to react. Thinking of this, Wan Changbing suddenly became energetic. Die. Wan Changbing showed a sinister smile on his face, and then frantically attacked Guan Yuanshan's left leg. Especially, the place that was seriously injured before. Shameless. Guan Yuanshan cursed. Not long after, Wan Changbing found an opportunity for him, and injured him again. Guan Yuanshan's footsteps stagnated, and he almost fell down. His hands also slowed down. Die for me. At this time, Wan Changbing took the opportunity to bully forward. Guan Yuanshan's face changed. He mobilized his vitality, condensed the 8-armed Ahad fist, and stepped forward to resist, trying to entangle Wan Changbing's fist. However, his action was a step slower. Hercules fist. Wan Changbing's fist was like a dragon, and his vitality rolled through. In an instant, he shook Guan Yuanshan's vitality long arm. Then, he raised his fist again, and hit Guan Yuanshan's throat hard. It seemed that he was going to kill him directly. Guan Yuanshan's eyes were immediately unwilling. If he was not injured, Wan Changbing, this bastard, would definitely not be his opponent. Wang Changbing's long fist was like a gun, and he was about to press down in the blink of an eye. Guan Yuanshan's moves were old and could not be blocked, and his face suddenly showed despair. At this time, suddenly a huge force came. Guan Yuanshan's body flew backwards quickly. Wang Changbing watched Guan Yuanshan getting farther and farther away from him, and his face suddenly changed, angry and anxious. He was almost there. He could have killed Guan Yuanshan directly. However, the young man who came with Guan Yuanshan suddenly flashed behind Guan Yuanshan and pulled him out of the battlefield. Guan Yuanshan escaped death and looked at Su Chen with gratitude. "Mr. Su, thank you." Su Chen said lightly, "You are just healed from your injury, and you are not suitable for higher level battles. It will be very easy for you to kill him after a few days of recovery." "Yeah." Guan Yuanshan nodded. Wang Changbing, who was already furious, became even angrier when he heard Su Chen's words. "Asshole. Since you saved the damn Guan Yuanshan, then you die for him." Wang Changbing's vitality condensed into a heavy punch and hit Su Chen fiercely. Su Chen sneered, looking for death. Then, Su Chen greeted Wang Changbing with a palm. Bang! The blazing flame vitality instantly submerged Wang Changbing. Boom! Wang Changbing was thrown out and hit the wall hard. Boom! A section of the wall collapsed instantly, and Wang Changbing was buried by the rubble. In an instant, everyone was stunned. Wang Changbing, the second elder of the Wu Meng, was actually knocked away by a punch. Li Ganqing and Zhou Wanqiu swallowed their saliva and stared at Su Chen with fear. The fourth update is here. Good night, everyone. Chapter 568. Herds of cattle and sheep cannot stop a single tiger from coming down the mountain. For a moment, at the gate of the Wu Meng, everyone looked at Su Chen with horror. They rushed forward and retreated one after another. They were afraid that Su Chen would suddenly attack and kill them. Even Li Ganqing and Zhou Wanqiu were cautious. "How can this bastard be so powerful?" Li Ganqing whispered. Zhou Wanqiu's eyes flashed with complex light. Before, when he was at the Guan family, he already knew how powerful Su Chen was. But at that time, he thought that he was too careless and didn't take Su Chen seriously, so he was injured by him. If he could concentrate, he might be able to fight Su Chen for a few moves and not be injured in one blow. Now, seeing the end of Wang Changbing, Zhou Wanqiu suddenly felt that he really couldn't do it alone. Boom. Bricks near the broken wall flew around. Wang Changbing stood up, blood oozing from the corners of his mouth, and he was covered in dust and mess. Cough cough. He coughed wildly a few times, and walked out of the brick and stone ruins. Second Elder, Elder Wang. A group of warriors from the Martial Alliance quickly surrounded him, and helped him shake off the dust and gravel. Wang Changbing's face was full of anger, staring at Su Chen. "Who are you, you bastard?" Su Chen said coldly, "I'm someone you can't afford to offend. Tell me the truth. Who is targeting the Yu brothers and sisters?" Hearing Su Chen's words, Wang Changbing's face turned cold, arrogant. He looked around and said, "Third Elder, Fourth Elder, let's work together to kill this lunatic." Li Ganqing and Zhou Wanqiu's faces changed slightly, but they still stepped forward. However, Zhou Wanqiu secretly fell behind a little. On the other side, Su Chen's face was indifferent. Guan Yuanshan stepped forward. "Mr. Su, I'll help you." Su Chen raised his hand and said, "No need. In my eyes, the three of them are just chickens and dogs." Guan Yuanshan was stunned. Su Chen's words were really too arrogant. However, he listened very happily. "Okay." Guan Yuanshan said with a smile. "Mr. Su, just teach these three people a lesson. I'll help you keep an eye on the little minions." "Yeah." Su Chen nodded and stepped forward. Wang Changbing and the other two looked extremely ugly. Since becoming the elders of the Wu Meng, they have never been looked down upon like this. This is simply a great shame. "Boy, you are looking for death. Kill you first, then kill Guan Yuanshan. This day next year will be your Memorial Day." After the three cursed, they rushed forward in an instant. Although Wang Changbing was injured by Su Chen, he opened his Hercules fist and his vitality was rolling like a tide. Around Li Ganqing, green smoke was diffused, emitting a faint fishy smell. Zhou Wanqiu lagged behind a little, with a nervous look on his face. He looked like he was attacking with all his strength, but he always had spare energy, and could run away at any time. Su Chen sneered, and went straight to the three people. Wang Changbing rushed to the front. Hercules' fist. With one punch, the fist was as powerful as a mountain, pressing down. But Su Chen just hit him casually. Bang! The Yuan Qi mountain instantly collapsed, and Wang Changbing shot back. On the other side, the third elder Li Gongqing and the fourth elder Zhou Liange took advantage of Su Chen's attack and attacked. Bone-eating poison claw. Li Gongqing condensed the green poison mist into a terrifying green claw, grabbing Su Chen fiercely. Su Chen turned around and punched. The extremely hot flame energy instantly burned the green poison mist, burning it with a hissing sound. The bone-eating poison claws encountered the flame energy and suddenly crackled, and the power was greatly reduced in an instant. Li Gongqing's face changed. Before he could make another move, the flame energy submerged him. Boom. Li Gongqing flew back, and the last Zhou Liange just approached and was kicked away by Su Chen. In the blink of an eye, the three elders of the Wu League were repelled by Su Chen in one encounter. The surrounding Wu League warriors were suddenly shocked. Guan Yuanshan, on the other hand, laughed out loud. "You three losers, this is all you can do when you join forces. It's ridiculous." Wang Changbing looked at each other. His face was extremely ugly. "Fight him," Wang Changbing said angrily. Li Gongqing and Zhou Liange nodded at the same time. "Yes." God fist breaks the sky. Rainbow poison thorn. Sky splitting hand. The three of them stepped on their feet and rushed to Su Chen in the blink of an eye. One in front, one on the left, and one on the right. Three short-kill attacks, attacking at the same time. In their opinion, no matter how strong Su Chen was, he could only resist the attacks of two people at the same time. The last person would definitely be able to kill Su Chen. However, Su Chen just smiled coldly. A herd of cattle and sheep can't stop a single tiger from descending the mountain. As soon as the words fell, boom. Su Chen's figure instantly left a trail of after images. The next second, he had appeared in front of Wang Changbing. Wang Changbing was shocked. Before he could react, Su Chen punched out. 7 wounds fist. 7 strange forces, accompanied by a terrifying giant fist of vitality, directly met Wang Changbing's heaven-breaking fist. Crack. Wang Changbing's fists exploded, and then the protective vitality of his body shattered inch by inch. Bang. The 7 wounds fist hit Wang Changbing hard. Puff. Wang Changbing's blood spurted out, and the whole person was thrown out and fell to the ground, dying. And Su Chen's figure flashed again. He had already rushed in front of Li Gongqing. Li Gongqing held a 7-colored poisonous sting in his hand and stabbed Su Chen fiercely. Su Chen raised his hand and grabbed the poisonous sting directly. Crack. In Li Gongqing's shocked eyes, Su Chen broke and crushed the rainbow poisonous sting. Then, he kicked him in the chest again. Bang. Li Gongqing hit the ground hard, plowed the ground and flew backwards, and finally rolled on the ground for several rounds before stopping. On the ground, a deep mark proved Su Chen's horror. In the blink of an eye, the three elders joined forces, and in an instant, only Zhou Liange was left. Su Chen turned around and faced Zhou Liange. A drop of cold sweat immediately slid down Zhou Liange's forehead. Bang. Before Su Chen made a move, Zhou Liange suddenly knelt down. "I admit defeat. Please spare my life. Spare my life." Bang. 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 Zhou Liange didn't even care about his face. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. Su Chen was stunned. This guy's really a complete villain. "Go kneel over there." After Su Chen finished speaking, he stood up and kicked Zhou Liange to the side of Wang Changbing and Li Gongqing. Zhou Liange didn't take it as an offense at all, but got up and knelt down again to beg for mercy. The surrounding martial arts alliance warriors were full of fear. In their eyes, the innate masters like the elders, although not at the peak of the innate realm, are already strong men who rarely encounter opponents. But now, the second elder, the third elder, and the fourth elder joined forces, but were knocked down in a few rounds. The life and death of the second elder is unknown. The third elder was seriously injured. The fourth elder knelt down and begged for mercy. And the one who did all this was just a young man in his early 20s. This is too terrible. Guan Yuanshan was also very excited. Su Chen's strength refreshed his cognition again. "Now, can you tell me who didn't let you take the bodyguard job of Yu Zhenyu?" Su Chen stepped forward and looked at Wang Changbing and others coldly. Wang Changbing's mouth kept bleeding, and his face was as pale as paper. Su Chen's 7 wounds fist had destroyed all his internal organs and meridians. Even if he was rescued in the future, he would be a useless person. Li Ganqing was better than Wang Changbing, but he was also seriously injured. Zhou Lianj was in the best condition. He knelt down and kowtowed for mercy, very seriously. Looking at these 3 people, Guan Yuanshan was excited. Seeing Su Chen asking questions, Li Ganqing quickly got up. He imitated Zhou Lianj, knelt on the ground, and kowtowed repeatedly. I don't know. This is the order of the second elder. Please spare my life. Zhou Lianj also said, I don't know either. Su Chen looked at Wang Changbing coldly. Wang Changbing's whole body tensed up. Puff. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and then forced himself to be strong. Actually, I don't know either. This matter was instructed by our great elder. I have no way. Great elder? Su Chen's mouth curled up. The great elder gave you this instruction, and then you took advantage of the situation to dismiss Guan Yuanshan, who was not on good terms with you, and then deal with him, right? Wang Changbing's face changed drastically, and he begged, please spare my life. For a moment, the 3 elders all begged for mercy. Su Chen said coldly, take me to find your great elder. I'll see what he says. At this moment, a long roar with full of energy came from afar. Bold lunatic, dare to find me? I think you are looking for death. Chapter 569. The Dignity of the Martial Alliance. Suddenly, a group of martial artists from the Wu League showed surprised smiles on their faces. Their great elder Zhang Jiangtao is here. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 sounds of breaking through the air came. Everyone's eyes blurred, and they saw 4 people entering the field. The leader was an old man in his 50s or 60s, and it was the great elder Zhang Jiangtao of the Wu League. The other 3 people next to him were much older than Zhang Jiangtao. Guan Yuanshan's expression tightened. He hurriedly approached Su Chen and introduced in a low voice, Mr. Su, this is the great elder Zhang Jiangtao of our Wu League. He is the son of our Wu League leader Zhang Lanhu. The 3 old men next to him are all top masters of our Wu League. Zhang Wenyan, and the 2 brothers Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao. The 3 of them are all strong men at the peak of the Xianshan realm. And the great elder Zhang Jiangtao, although not at the peak of the Xianshan realm, was trained by our leader, and is very powerful. You must be more careful. Su Chen nodded. Zhang Jiangtao rushed to Wang Changbing, and others with the 3 peak Xianshan masters. Zhou Lianj and Li Ganqing looked embarrassed. Wang Changbing was seriously injured and collapsed, while the 2 of them were still kneeling on the ground. Zhang Jiangtao looked at the 2 of them, his face gloomy. Bang, bang. He kicked them out. Waste. Kneeling down to beg for mercy. You are embarrassing our Wu Meng. Zhou Lianj and Li Ganqing turned over several times before standing up in a hurry. Grand Elder, I'm sorry. It's all because of this kid's a vile doer. The 2 apologized repeatedly. Wang Changbing also vomited blood and begged, Grand Elder, kill them. Humph. Zhang Jiangtao snorted coldly and turned to look at Su Chen and the others. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. Guan Yuanshan lowered his head slightly and did not dare to meet his eyes. Zhang Jiangtao stared at Guan Yuanshan. Guan Yuanshan, you are so brave. You are a traitor and brought the enemy to our door. Why don't you admit your guilt? Kneel down. He shouted angrily. Guan Yuanshan trembled and almost knelt down in fear. However, seeing Su Chen beside him, Guan Yuanshan suddenly felt a little more confident. I'm not guilty. Guan Yuanshan raised his head and glared at Zhang Jiangtao. Although you are the great elder, you should still follow the rules when speaking and doing things. As the 5th elder of the Wu Meng, I have the right to allocate the innate realm masters. But the 2nd elder Wang Changbing not only rejected my request unreasonably, but also joined forces with several elders to dismiss me, and even seriously injured me. The 5th elder Zhou Lianj took advantage of my serious injury to come to my Guan family and threatened me with the lives of my entire family, forcing me to hand over my property and the 8-armed Ahad fist. Fortunately, Mr. Su saved me, and I escaped death. And Qi Yaowei, with the poison needle of the 4th elder, went to assassinate me. Guan Yuanshan told everything, and the martial artists around him suddenly realized it. They only now understood why Guan Yuanshan was so angry that he even brought outsiders to his door to ask for an explanation. But everyone whispered, Wan Changbing, Zhou Wanqiu and others looked unhappy. What they did was indeed disgraceful. Guan Yuanshan became more and more angry. He stared at Zhang Jiangtao and questioned him. I don't understand. What did I do wrong? Why do they treat me like this? Zhang Jiangtao narrowed his eyes. He said coldly, I can understand the grievances you have suffered. But this is not a reason for you to challenge the dignity of my Wumeng. Haha. Guan Yuanshan sneered. His face was sad. Zhang Jiangtao, I thought you were the son of the leader, so you should be more fair. It turns out that you and they are the same kind of people. According to what you said, do I deserve to be beaten to death by them, and then all my property and skills were taken away, and my family was persecuted to death? Then, wait for you, the great elder, to come out to preside over justice, and help my family redress the grievances? The dignity of the Wumeng? What a big hat. At this moment, Guan Yuanshan was extremely disappointed with the Wumeng. The other warriors around him were also whispering. There was also a hint of sympathy in their eyes when they looked at Guan Yuanshan. If they were to encounter Guan Yuanshan's experience, they would probably make the same choice as him. Zhang Jiangtao was even more annoyed when he heard the discussion of the crowd. Arsehole. No matter how much you quibble, it's hard to wash away your sins. Kneel down and confess your guilt. This is your only way out. Otherwise, no one in your Guan family will be left alive. Guan Yuanshan's face changed drastically. You. This bastard actually threatened himself with the lives of his entire family. Clap, clap, clap. The crisp sound of applause rang out. Su Chen clapped his hands and stood up. What a powerful Wumeng. What a begrul. No matter the false cases or internal oppression, we must first eliminate dissidents. It really fits that saying. No matter the facts, we must first stand firm and then start to attack opponents. This is a Wumeng, right? Then all the members of you Wumeng should be careful. If one day you are also hostile to these elders, maybe they will find a reason to wipe out your entire family. In an instant, the Wumeng disciples around were even more chaotic. Zhang Jiangtao's face was livid. He looked at Su Chen coldly. Boy, dare to interfere in the internal affairs of my Wumeng. No matter who you are dead. Su Chen smiled and said, really? You, the elder, are your words so effective? I thought you relied on your father. Or, come and kill me yourself. Let me see how powerful you are. Zhang Jiangtao was stunned on the spot. Su Chen alone destroyed the three elders, and he might not be a match alone. But Su Chen directly used words to put him there. You're not scared, are you? You're decades older than me. Su Chen sneered. Seeing Zhang Jiangtao's constipated expression, Guan Yuanshan was very happy. Zhang Liao, do it. Kill this bastard. Zhang Jiangtao couldn't stand this kind of ridicule anymore, and shouted angrily. Suddenly, the old man with white hair and a youthful face stepped out. The momentum of the peak of the Xianshan realm was like a storm. Mountain breaker. The old man took a step forward. A hand knife, like a giant axe splitting the mountain, chopped towards Su Chen fiercely. The vitality was like a rolling wave, directly condensed in the air, and slashed towards Su Chen in the air. Before it came down, it had already torn the earth apart. The people around were pushed back by the tyrannical force, and Su Chen smiled coldly. Not bad, but it's not enough for me. Su Chen's figure flashed. In an instant, he tore through Zhang Wenyan's vitality wave, and arrived beside him. The golden evil palm was printed. Zhang Wenyan's vitality collapsed inch by inch. Bang! A palm print hit Zhang Wenyan's chest. Boom! Zhang Wenyan was blown away, and fell heavily to the ground. For a moment, the scene was quiet. Zhang Liao. Zhang Jiangtao's eyes widened, with an unbelievable look on his face. Beside him, two old men with very similar faces were also shocked. Swoosh, swoosh, a long sword, a long knife, appeared in their hands. Su Chen's terror attracted the absolute attention of the two men. Chapter 570. Just take my move. Su Chen looked at Zhang Jiangtao coldly. Great elder, you don't dare to attack me yourself, but you send someone at the peak of the Xianshan realm to test me. This seems a bit shameful. Hearing this, Zhang Jiangtao's face changed color. He looked at Zhang Wenyan, who was unconscious on the ground, and was shocked and scared. Zhang Wenyan was different from Wan Changbing, Zhou Wanqiu and others. He was a real Xianshan realm peak. But even so, he still fell in front of Su Chen with one move. Zhang Jiangtao had never seen such a powerful Yuan Qi master. What realm is this kid's strength at? Jiangdao, let's attack together. Kill this kid. Zhang Jiangtao ordered directly. The two old men raised their swords and pointed them at Su Chen. Attack. The three did not dare to hold back and directly used their strongest killing moves to kill Su Chen. Facing the strong attack of the three, Su Chen did not retreat but advanced and took the initiative to meet them. Compared with Wang Changbing, Zhao Lianj and Li Gangqing, Zhang Jiangtao and the other two in front of him were much more powerful. Zhang Jiangtao was unarmed, and each move was accompanied by the sound of tiger and leopard thunder, which was as powerful as a peak of the ordinary Xianshan realm. The other two, the brothers Jiangjian and Jiangdao, combined swords to attack and defend. Su Chen was full of vitality, like a rolling wave, and fought fiercely with the three people. Bang bang bang. The violent vibration of vitality forced everyone to retreat frantically. Zhang Jiangtao and the other two were more ruthless with one move after another. But Su Chen was like strolling in the garden, and he was at ease in the siege of the three people. On the side, Guan Yuanshan was still worried. Slowly, his eyes gradually became shocked. Mr. Su. He seems to be practicing martial arts with these three people. That's right. Su Chen stepped on the wandering steps, seemingly struggling, but in fact he was very calm, leaving margins everywhere. Even if some moves were difficult to dodge, Su Chen would directly use the undefeated golden body to resist. Although, Su Chen was most dissatisfied with the undefeated golden body. But that was just a feeling that the physical strength was not enough to resist the attack of the God Realm strongman, and it was difficult to support the ninefold increase of the 9 extreme strength. But using the unbeaten golden body to deal with the innate realm was completely sufficient. Zhang Jiangtao and the other two were getting more and more frightened. The young man in front of them seemed to be playing around, using all kinds of skills. There were body techniques, palm techniques, fist techniques, finger techniques, physical training, attribute vitality. Su Chen once again familiarized himself with his own skills in actual combat, checking for deficiencies and filling in the gaps. Finally, he slowly said, "Okay, you are no longer useful. I will try the last skill on you." Zhang Jiangtao and the other two were shocked. Su Chen pinched his hands and suddenly hit Shock Spirit Seal. In an instant, the surging mental power suddenly formed an invisible mental force field around Su Chen. Shock. Su Chen shouted coldly. But, in an instant, Zhang Jiangtao, Jiangjian and Jiangdao felt a sharp pain in their heads. Jiangjian and Jiangdao, both brothers, were at the peak of the Xianshan realm. They had a certain level of spiritual power and could still resist. The two men just felt dizzy and their eyes blurred. But the great elder Zhang Jiangtao was weaker. Ah! He screamed. It felt like needles were pricking his head, and he couldn't help but hold his head and howl. The fight between masters was only a matter of millimeters. Su Chen's face lit up with joy. The actual combat effect was really good. He flashed and came to Jiangjian's side in an instant, punching him. Bang! Before Jiangjian could react, his protective vitality was destroyed, and he flew out. Su Chen stomped his feet and approached Jiangdao again. Jiangdao, who was at the peak of the Xianshan realm, had come to his senses at this moment. He raised his knife to resist, but it was too late. Su Chen used a powerful Vajra finger, and the rolling vitality was like a spear, unstoppable. Clang! The long knife broke. Puff! Blood suddenly appeared on his chest, and a blood hole appeared. Jiangdao flew backwards. Su Chen turned around and looked at Jiangtao. At this time, Zhang Jiangtao had already fallen to the ground, still holding his head in pain. Su Chen sneered and was about to hit him with the palm. At this moment, a shout came from afar. "Stop! Don't hurt my son." Then, a terrifying claw mark, like a tiger hitting a mountain, attacked like a meteor. The terrifying energy on it was soul-stirring and far exceeded the peak of the innate realm. Su Chen's eyes condensed. "This is a land immortal." On the side, Guan Yuanshan showed horror. He shouted, "Mr. Su, run away. This is the leader of our martial arts alliance, Zhang Lanhu." Su Chen sneered, "It's just a land immortal, why run away?" As the voice fell, Su Chen punched hard. The rolling vitality condensed, and after being amplified by the 9 extreme forces, it went towards the tiger claw. Rumble. The huge tiger claw collapsed instantly. Su Chen slowly retracted his fist. He raised his eyebrows slightly. This land immortal of the Wu League doesn't seem to be that strong. However, this scene made other people completely dumbfounded. This is the Beast King break of the leader Zhang Lanhu. In the end, it was defeated by Su Chen. Even though this move has a long attack distance, this is the God Realm after all. However, fortunately, this move of besieging Wei to save Zhao prevented Su Chen from attacking Zhang Jiangtao again. Whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared in front of Su Chen. The person who came was an old man with white hair. He was wearing a green robe with fluttering sleeves, and he had a bit of immortal style. This person was the leader of the Wu League, the land immortal Zhang Lanhu. Zhang Lanhu's eyes swept across, and his face was full of killing. Leader. Guan Yuanshan looked ugly, and bowed his head quickly. The other members of the Wu League also saluted Zhang Lanhu. Zhao Lian shouted, Master Zhang, kill Guan Yuanshan and this bastard. He not only crippled Elder Wang Changbing, but also forced us to kneel down and beg for mercy. Even Xiang Leo and the others were seriously injured by him. Su Chen shifted his gaze and looked at Zhao Liange. Zhao Liange quickly shut up and lowered his head. Zhang Lanhu glanced at Zhang Jiangtao under Su Chen's feet. He raised his head and looked at Su Chen. Boy, I advise you not to touch my son. Maybe you still have a chance to survive. Su Chen sneered. Do you think I will threaten you with your son? Don't worry, I'm not as shameless as you Wu Meng. Zhang Lanhu's face was grim, and he didn't comment. Su Chen kicked directly. Bang. He kicked Zhang Jiangtao directly towards Zhang Lanhu. Guan Yuanshan looked anxious. He felt that, if he had kidnapped Zhang Jiangtao just now, maybe he and Su Chen would have a chance to survive. Now, it might be difficult. Zhang Lanhu's face was happy. He flicked his white robe sleeves, and Zhang Jiangtao slowly fell. Seeing that his son was fine, Zhang Lanhu was relieved. He looked up at Su Chen and said indifferently, kneel down and apologize, and then join my martial alliance, and I will spare your life. Su Chen sneered, haha. What a big tone. You are a half-injured land immortal. You are not worthy of sparing me. Zhang Lanhu's face changed. How do you know I'm injured? Of course I can see it. Is it difficult? Su Chen sneered. Just now, when he broke Zhang Lanhu's attack, he felt that he was much weaker than a normal martial god. Now seeing Zhang Lanhu with his own eyes, Su Chen is even more certain of his problem. Zhang Lanhu's eyes flickered. You know medicine? Su Chen smiled. I know a little. What? Are you going to ask me to treat you? At this time, Guan Yuanshan hurriedly said, Alliance Master Zhang, Mr. Su's medical skills are very powerful. Better than all the divine doctors I have seen. I was seriously injured by the second elder Wang Changbing and almost died. In the end, Mr. Su only took me a few minutes to make me fully recovered. Guan Yuanshan didn't want to completely offend a land immortal, so he wanted to take the opportunity to make peace. Hearing this, Zhang Lanhu seemed to be a little moved. He stared at Su Chen and said, if you can cure me, I promise you that I will give Guan Yuanshan an explanation. Moreover, you will also gain the friendship of my Wu Meng. Su Chen sneered, give Guan Yuanshan justice. This is what your Wu Meng should do. And to be honest, I don't care about your Wu Meng's friendship. Zhang Lanhu's face sank. What did you say? Guan Yuanshan saw this and showed an anxious look. Mr. Su. Su Chen raised his hand to stop Guan Yuanshan. He looked at Zhang Lanhu with a smile. But if you want me to heal you, it's very simple. Just now, you attacked me. Now, you just need to take my attack. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar. Zhang Lanhu was also stunned. The next chapter may not be until after 3 o'clock. Or it may not be. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 571. Beat the god to vomit blood. As soon as Su Chen said this, there was silence. Everyone wondered if there was something wrong with their ears. A mere Xianshan realm dared to say that a strong man in the god realm could take his move. The next second, all the warriors in the Wu League burst into heated discussions. Arrogant. Extremely arrogant. This kid thought that he could fight with our leader after defeating several of our elders in the peak Xianshan realm. He is really ignorant and fearless. Our leader is a serious martial god. Even if he stands there and lets him hit him, he won't lose a hair. I'm looking forward to seeing his desperate look later. Everyone in the Wu League had a mocking look on their faces. Even Guan Yuanshan secretly felt that Su Chen was asking for trouble. Zhang Longhu's face was gloomy, and it was hard to tell whether he was happy or angry. Boy, do you think that I'm seriously injured and you can let you step on me to get to the top? Zhang Longhu's face was cold. Su Chen said calmly, I have no interest in getting promoted, and I have no interest in stepping on you to get promoted. There are two reasons why I asked you to take my move. First, you just attacked me once, and I want to fight back. Second, I want you to make sure what kind of attitude you should use to talk to me, and what kind of attitude you should use to deal with Guan Yuanshan. Zhang Longhu sneered, what an arrogant boy. Come on. I'll give you this chance. If you can't make me change my attitude, then stay in my Wumeng forever. As he spoke, Zhang Longhu put his right index finger and middle finger together and drew a circle directly on the spot. He stood in the center of the circle and said indifferently, I will let you attack as you like. As long as you can get out of this circle, you will succeed. You can do whatever you want with this matter today. Su Chen shook his head gently and said, no need. One punch is enough. Hearing this, the Wumeng people were even more angry. Asshole, how dare you be so arrogant? Let the leader kill his spirit. At this time, Zhou Lianj sneered, this kid really doesn't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. Guan Yuanshan, on the other hand, had a worried look on his face. Zhang Longhu looked at Su Chen and said lightly, it's a good thing for young people to be sharp, but overconfidence can only ruin themselves. Su Chen remained silent. He raised his hand gently. Crash. The surging vitality surged like a tide. The terrifying momentum made everyone feel suffocated. What a strong vitality. This has surpassed the innate realm, right? Wan Changbing's eyes showed a trace of jealousy, and Zhang Longhu's face also became a little more cautious. Young man, your martial arts foundation can be said to be appalling. If you are willing, you can worship me as your master, and I will forgive all your mistakes. In addition, Guan Yuanshan's matter is up to you. At this time, Zhang Longhu's view of Su Chen has changed a lot. He has determined that, if Su Chen does not die young, he will definitely achieve the divine realm. On the side, Wan Changbing, Zhou Lianj and others changed their faces drastically. Zhang Longhu actually had a hard-to-love talent. If Su Chen agreed, they would definitely be in trouble. Guan Yuanshan was pleasantly surprised. If Su Chen agreed, this crisis would be over. However, Su Chen shook his head, don't think about those things. Just block my punch. The people around him were stunned for a moment. This kid is so crazy. Wan Changbing and others immediately changed their worries into joy. Guan Yuanshan looked at Su Chen with a look of regret. He didn't understand why Su Chen didn't agree to such a good thing as worshipping the immortal on land as a teacher. Zhang Longhu's face was slightly cold. He said disdainfully, I will stand still and let you hit me. Let you understand that the difference between the god realm and the innate realm is like a natural moat. Su Chen glanced at him indifferently and didn't answer. Around his body, the terrifying flame energy and the mysterious thunder energy gathered crazily. The next second, the 9 extremes power was activated. The two kinds of energy vibrated crazily and transformed in the unique way of the 9 extremes power. Crunch. Crack. Su Chen's body, bones, and meridians were all under tremendous pressure. Wu Kuangsha had possessed the 9 extreme power for such a long time, but he had not been able to cultivate to the top level. There were two reasons. One was because of his own comprehension, and the other was because his physical strength was not enough. But Su Chen was different. His natural strong comprehension, coupled with the glazed pure hard grass, solved the first problem. The physical foundation that his grandfather had laid for Su Chen since he was a child, and the cultivation of the unbeaten golden body, helped Su Chen strengthen his physical strength and solved the second problem. Now, although the strength of the unbeaten golden body has not yet reached the top level, the physical strength is still lacking, and it has not been able to exert the true 9-fold increase. But Su Chen's strength has also broken through the limitations of the innate realm and reached the divine realm. In an instant, the terrifying pressure instantly covered. Everyone's face changed drastically. This is the divine realm. Wan Changbing and Zhao Liange were stunned on the spot, and the brothers Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao on the side also showed horror. Mr. Su. Guan Yuanshan opened his mouth and couldn't close it at all. At this moment, Zhang Longhu's face changed completely. The ease, contempt, and disdain on his face disappeared instantly. Zhang Longhu seemed to have forgotten what he had said before. At this time, how could he dare to stand still and let Su Chen hit him? At this time, he not only put on a defensive posture, but also burst out with energy all over his body, with a cautious face, staring at Su Chen. Zhang Longhu, my punch, you try it next. Su Chen shouted, and threw a punch. Boom. In an instant, the whole world was shaken, as if the thunder of the gods had descended to the world. The sky, fire and thunder seemed to be integrated into this punch, bombarding Zhang Longhu. In an instant, Zhang Longhu felt a life and death crisis. Tiger devouring seal. He quickly overlapped his hands, and the energy in his body condensed instantly. The energy between heaven and earth, as if it was emptied, formed a huge tiger's mouth in front of Zhang Longhu, swallowing Su Chen's punch. Bang! A loud bang exploded. The terrifying fluctuations instantly swept across everything in the world. The surrounding buildings collapsed instantly. The gate, courtyard wall, rockery, giant tree, and flower bed of Wumeng Manor were destroyed in an instant. Everyone, whether they were dark force martial artists or innate masters, were blown away like fallen leaves in a strong wind. Even so, as long as they were not dizzy, they tried to open their eyes wide to see the final result. The tiger's mouth swallowed the giant fist. Everyone's face relaxed. The next second, snap, the tiger's mouth exploded instantly. A beam of light suddenly penetrated the tiger's mouth and hit Zhang Longhu. Bang! Zhang Longhu's body shook, and then he flew out. Thump thump thump. He retreated more than 10 steps on the ground before slowly standing up. Zhang Longhu stared at Su Chen. You, puff. His blood surged, and he couldn't help but spurted out a mouthful of blood. Everyone at the scene was stunned for a moment. This young man not only beat Zhang Longhu, a land immortal, out of the circle. Moreover, he beat him to vomit blood. Zhang Longhu stared at Su Chen, his face full of disbelief. A flash of light flashed through his mind. He suddenly thought of who this young man in front of him was. Chapter 572 Mind Control. The battlefield was in a mess. The surrounding buildings collapsed, as if they had encountered a violent earthquake. On the ground, the circle drawn by Zhang Longhu with his finger force had long disappeared. However, it didn't matter anymore. Everyone knew that Zhang Longhu had lost, and lost completely. He had originally claimed that he would lose as long as he got out of the circle, regardless of Su Chen's moves. As a result, Zhang Longhu not only did not let Su Chen make a move, but also used his most proficient tiger bite seal. But even so, he was still knocked out of the circle by Su Chen and vomited blood. The surrounding Wumeng members were completely stunned. Did our leader lose? Did our leader Zhang deliberately let this kid go? It shouldn't be. Look at the leader who was also injured. How is it possible for the Xianshan realm to defeat the Shen realm? Everyone whispered, their eyes full of shock. Wan Changbing and Zhao Liange's faces suddenly showed despair. Su Chen not only won the bet with Zhang Longhu, but also won Zhang Longhu. The fate of them can be imagined. Zhang Jiangtao, Zhang Wenyuan and others were even more unbelievable. In their opinion, Zhang Longhu, who was in the god realm, was invincible even if he was injured. He was a level that could never be injured by the innate realm. However, Su Chen punched him so hard that he vomited blood. Even Guan Yuanshan, who was in the same camp as Su Chen, took a long time to come back to his senses. A surprise instantly overwhelmed him. He knew that this miracle created by Su Chen would completely change his fate. Sure enough, Zhang Longhu covered his chest and stared at Su Chen. That night, the person who fought with Beilaogi was you, right? Beilaogi? Su Chen immediately understood that the person Zhang Longhu was talking about was Beilongxiang. It was me. Su Chen nodded. Zhang Longhu looked bitter. I see. Then, he grinned. No wonder that day, when I felt the fluctuation of the divine realm and rushed to the Bei family, the old ghost Bei didn't tell me the truth. It turns out that this old bastard couldn't keep a young man like you, and he was embarrassed. Su Chen smiled. Zhang Longhu finally understood one thing. Why did Su Chen dare to say that he wanted to take his move and think carefully about what attitude he should use to treat Su Chen and what attitude he should use to deal with Guan Yuanshan's matter? This kid has absolute confidence in himself. Zhang Lang, who looked at Su Chen and said lightly, I lost. I will satisfy you about Guan Yuanshan's matter. Guan Yuanshan was immediately delighted. He hurriedly said, thank you, leader. Thank you, Mr. Su. Su Chen nodded and looked at Zhang Lang, who, wanting to see how he would deal with it. On the side, Wang Changbing and Zhou Lianj trembled all over. Sure enough, Zhang Lang, who looked at Wang Changbing first, he asked in a cold voice, Wang Changbing, why did you dismiss Guan Yuanshan and team up with the third and fourth elders to seriously injure him? Wang Changbing knelt down hurriedly. Alliance leader, I was just following the order of the great elder Zhang Jiangtao and not sending Xianshan realm bodyguards to the Yu brothers and sisters. Guan Yuanshan did not obey this order, but instead accused and insulted us, so we. Wang Changbing's voice became smaller and smaller. At the side, Zhang Jiangtao's face changed. Wang Changbing, this bastard, is trying to pass the blame to himself. Zhang Jiangtao said quickly, that's not the case. I just told Wang Changbing not to send people to the Yu brothers and sisters. I didn't ask him to target Guan Yuanshan. Wang Changbing had a grudge against Guan Yuanshan, so he took the opportunity to deliberately stir up trouble and kill people. And Zhou Lianj was even more vicious and took the opportunity to send Guan Yuanshan home to blackmail him, extorting the lives of the entire Guan family in the secret manual of the martial arts and the Guan family's property. Hearing this, Wang Changbing's face turned pale. Zhou Lianj also knelt on the ground. The two of them begged for mercy. League Master, please spare my life. Zhang Lang, whose eyes were like knives, and he said coldly, Wang Changbing, you took advantage of the situation to seek personal gain and treated your colleagues cruelly. According to the rules of the Wu Meng, you should be beheaded. As soon as the voice fell, Zhang Lang, whose palm print, bang, Wang Changbing's face was horrified, and he flew away in an instant, deader than dead. Seeing this, Zhou Lianj was trembling with fear. Zhang Lang, who spoke again, Zhou Lianj, as one of the four elders of the Wu Meng, you have no friendship for your colleagues. You are greedy and mean, and you should be beheaded according to the rules of the Wu Meng. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Lang, who was ready to attack again. At this time, Zhou Lianj jumped up and fled into the distance. Zhang Lang, who sneered, Beast King break. He waved his hand gently. In an instant, the terrifying energy instantly condensed into the shape of a tiger claw, grabbing Zhou Lianj, who was running wildly. Zhou Lianj's face changed, and he turned around in a hurry, mobilizing all his energy to resist. Before, he had seen Su Chen resist this move. Zhou Lianj didn't believe that he couldn't create the same miracle. Snap. With a crisp sound, Zhou Lianj's upper body and lower body were instantly separated. Bang! Zhou Lianj fell directly to the ground. With his mouth full of blood foam, he said his last words, Zhang Lang, who, you can't beat this kid, so you use me as a target. I won't accept it. After that, Zhou Lianj died completely. Hearing this, Zhang Lang, whose face was calm, he said coldly, everyone has their own judgment on what the second elder Wang Changbing and the fourth elder Zhou Lianj did. You also know whether he should be killed or not. A group of martial arts alliance warriors nodded. Although the second elder and the fourth elder were in power, their behavior was really shameful. Then, Zhang Lang, who turned his head and looked at Zhang Jiangtao. He snorted, Grand Elder, Zhang Jiangtao. Zhang Jiangtao hurriedly clasped his fists and bowed. League Master. In the martial arts alliance, even if they are father and son, there are certain rules. When Zhang Lang, who called him the Grand Elder, it meant that he had to handle official business. Zhang Lang, who said coldly, since our Wu Meng was established, we have set rules to provide high-level bodyguards for profit and not directly participate in the struggle of major forces. Why did you order that the Yu brothers and sisters are prohibited from providing bodyguards? You'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Zhang Jiangtao looked at his father with an ugly face and felt very uneasy. He hurriedly said, it was Ning lied. He gave our Wu Meng some money and asked me to do this. Ning lied? Su Chen was stunned. This person's name is not the first time Su Chen has seen it. when in Weicheng, Gao Zepeng's chemical plant was targeted, and later even Qiu Honglei set it on fire. Su Chen used the tracking talisman to find Qiu Hong and subdue him. According to Qiu Hong, it was Ninglide who asked him to deal with Gao Zepeng. In addition to dealing with Gao Zepeng, Ninglide was also dealing with Yu Fulei. Zhang Long, whose face was gloomy. Humph. Didn't I say that the martial alliance will always remain neutral? Did you ignore my words? No. Zhang Jiangtao quickly defended. At the beginning, when Ninglide came to me, I kept your instructions in mind and rejected his request. In the end, I don't know why, while chatting with him, I couldn't help but accept his money and agreed to this matter. However, I didn't keep the money Ninglide gave me for myself, but directly transferred it to the treasury of the Martial Alliance. Dad, I really didn't seek personal gain for myself, but I agreed to him in a confused manner, and I had to bite the bullet and do it. Until now, I don't know why I agreed to him at that time. Zhang Jiangtao looked sincere, and Su Chen could also feel that he should be telling the truth. But to be able to affect an innate strongman without noticing such mental power, a light flashed in Su Chen's mind. He suddenly thought of someone. Today, the master of Yuan Qi who kidnapped Yu Zinayu seemed to be controlled by someone. Chapter 573. Su Chen's face. Zhang Long, who also felt something was wrong. He waved his hand and said, "Come here." Zhang Jiangtao hurriedly walked to Zhang Long, whose side. Zhang Long, who stretched out his hand and pressed it on Zhang Jiangtao's forehead. After a while, Zhang Long, who slightly opened his eyes, his face slightly ugly. Sure enough, Zhang Jiangtao looked nervous and asked, "Dad, what's wrong with me?" Zhang Long, who said coldly, "I told you a long time ago to quickly strengthen your spiritual power training, but you just didn't listen. I didn't even know that someone had invaded my Niwen palace and affected my judgment." Zhang Jiangtao's face changed. "You mean that Ninglide, he used his spiritual power to influence me so that I agreed to his conditions without thinking? Isn't that Ninglide an ordinary businessman? Is he so powerful?" Zhang Jiangtao looked unbelievable. "It's just that you think he is an ordinary businessman. Maybe he is very good at hiding." Zhang Long, who scolded. Zhang Jiangtao looked ugly. Zhang Long, who thought for a moment and said, "Of course, another possibility cannot be ruled out. Beside Ninglide, there is a master with extremely high spiritual power. That way, it can also affect your judgment without you noticing." Zhang Jiangtao nodded, his expression gloomy. As a master of the Xianshan realm, it is indeed very embarrassing to be influenced by others' judgment without knowing it. What's more, this matter violated the rules of the Wumeng. Even if this matter is excusable, even if it is not as bad as Wang Changbing and Zhao Lianji's behavior, even if Zhang Jiangtao is Zhang Long, whose son, he still has to be punished. Sure enough, Zhang Long, who said coldly, "Grand Elder, Zhang Jiangtao." Here, Zhang Jiangtao's expression tightened, and he quickly clasped his fists and bowed. "This is going to be a verdict." Zhang Long, who continued, "As the Great Elder, you should have taken the lead in maintaining the rules of the Martial Alliance, but you were influenced by others to make decisions and intervene in the struggle between major forces. From now on, you will be dismissed from the position of Great Elder and punished for 1 year. In addition, you are not allowed to hold any position in the Martial Alliance in the future and concentrate on training." Zhang Jiangtao's face was gloomy, but he could only clasp his fists and say, "Yes." A group of martial artists in the Martial Alliance cast admiring eyes on Zhang Long, who, even for his own son, Zhang Long, who did not show favoritism. At this point, the 5 great elders of the Martial Alliance were only the 3rd elder Li Gongqing and the 5th elder Guan Yuanshan. Then, Zhang Jiangtao looked at the 3rd elder Li Gongqing. Li Gongqing's face was panicked. Bang! He knelt on the ground and frantically defended himself. "Alliance leader, please spare my life. All this has nothing to do with me. It was Wang Changbing's idea to target Guan Yuanshan. Blackmailing Guan Yuanshan was Zhao Lianji's personal behavior. Guan Yuanshan and I have no hatred. We joined forces to deal with him in accordance with Wang Changbing's orders. It was also Wang Changbing's arrangement to give Qi Yaowei the poison needle later. Please spare my life." Li Gongqing knelt on the ground and kowtowed frantically to beg for mercy, trying to find a glimmer of hope for himself. Zhang Long, who glanced at him and turned to look at Guan Yuanshan, Fifth elder, do you think Zhou Lian should be executed? Guan Yuanshan was stunned. Zhang Longhu was handing Li Gongqing's life over to him. Guan Yuanshan glanced at Su Chen. Zhang Longhu must have done this for Su Chen's sake. And Li Gongqing trembled all over. He quickly knelt and crawled towards Guan Yuanshan. Brother Guan, I have never had any hatred against you. Besides, Zhou Lian and I are the ones who don't get along the most. It was Wang Changbing who forced me to attack you together. Besides, I didn't do anything poisonous, and I didn't even use poison to harm you. Later, when Qi Yaoi attacked you, it was Wang Changbing who forced me to give him the poison needle. Please, spare my life. Bang bang bang. Li Gongqing kowtowed repeatedly and kept apologizing. Guan Yuanshan's face kept changing. Finally, he sighed and said to Zhang Longhu, Master Zhang, the third elder was also coerced, let him live. Li Gongqing's face suddenly became very happy. Thank you, Brother Guan, thank you. Zhang Longhu looked at Li Gongqing calmly and said, Li Gongqing, although you did not mean to do so, you have caused harm to Elder Guan. The death penalty can be exempted, but the living crime cannot be escaped. You will be fined for 5 years of tribute, and the subsidy will be given to Elder Guan. In addition, your position as the third elder will be cancelled. Hearing this result, Li Gongqing's face became happy. In any case, he survived. Thank you, Master, thank you, Brother Guan. Li Gongqing thanked again and again. So far, of the 5 elders of the entire Wumeng, 2 died and 2 were dismissed, leaving only Guan Yuanshan, the 5th elder. Zhang Longhu looked at Guan Yuanshan again. He said, 5th elder, Guan Yuanshan. Guan Yuanshan's face became happy. Zhang Longhu called him this, which meant that he still recognized that he was a member of the Wumeng. He immediately saluted. Here, Zhang Longhu said, the injustice you suffered today is due to my negligence in management. I want to apologize to you. Guan Yuanshan was touched. Alliance leader, you are too polite. Zhang Longhu continued, I will transfer 2 billion to you as compensation for your mental damage. In addition, of the 5 elders of the Martial Alliance, you are the only one left. This position of elder will be directly revoked. In the future, the Martial Alliance will establish a deputy leader position, and you will serve as the first deputy leader, and you will be in charge of the management of the entire Martial Alliance, including but not limited to the transfer and allocation of the peak of the Xianshan realm. If anyone questions your decision, you can report to me at any time. Guan Yuanshan was shocked. This treatment seems a bit too good. Not only did he punish those people, but he also gave them money as compensation, and finally gave him the status and power under one person. Thank you. Thank you for your trust, Alliance leader. Guan Yuanshan hurriedly thanked. Then, he looked at Su Chen with gratitude. He understood that, if it weren't for Su Chen, Zhang Longhu would not treat him so well, even if he made the decision for him. After Zhang Longhu finished handling everything, he looked at Su Chen with a smile. Mr. Su, are you satisfied with this handling? The smile on Zhang Longhu's face was almost flattering. Su Chen nodded. Thank you, Alliance leader Zhang. However, the you brothers and sisters. Oh. Zhang Longhu slapped his forehead and laughed. Look at my brain. I almost forgot the main business. He turned his head and looked to the side. Jiang Dao, Jiang Jian, you 2 brothers, go and protect Miss Yu Zinayu. When Miss Yu doesn't need you anymore, come back. In addition, your hiring fee doesn't need Miss Yu to pay. I will pay for it. Zhang Longhu ordered directly. Yes, sir. Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao bowed repeatedly. Su Chen showed a hint of surprise on his face. Zhang Longhu's move was really generous. You know, Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian are both at the peak of the Xianshan realm. Moreover, the cooperation of the 2 brothers can be used as 3 peak Xianshan realms. Zhang Longhu assigned these 2 people to use in Iu, and paid for them himself. His intention to please her was obvious. Mr. Su, I wonder if this will satisfy you? Su Chen nodded and smiled. In that case, I would like to thank Zhang for his generosity on behalf of the Yu brothers and sisters. You're welcome. Zhang Longhu smiled. At this time, Zhang Longhu hesitated and said, Mr. Su, can I ask you to treat my injury now? Su Chen looked up and down at Zhang Longhu and nodded. Yes. Zhang Longhu was overjoyed. Thank you, Mr. Su. Then, Zhang Lanhu led Su Chen and others into the Wumeng and found a training room. Zhang Jiangtao, Jiang Dao, Jiang Jian and others followed in. They also wanted to see how good Su Chen's medical skills were. If Guan Yuanshan was lying, Zhang Lanhu would not be so easy to expose. And Zhang Jiangtao was most familiar with Zhang Lanhu's injury. He looked at Su Chen's young face and didn't believe from the bottom of his heart that he could cure it. Zhang Jiangtao asked, Mr. Su, Elder Guan. Deputy Alliance Leader Guan praised your medical skills to the sky. Can you tell what happened to my father's injury? For a moment, everyone looked at Su Chen. Zhang Lanhu also looked expectant. If Su Chen couldn't even check this, he must be a quack. At this time, Su Chen smiled. The next chapter will be after 2:30. Let's go to bed first. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 574. Very fair. Everyone's eyes were focused on Su Chen. Guan Yuanshan was also very nervous. He didn't know if Zhang Lanhu's attitude would change if Su Chen couldn't cure him. Su Chen looked at Zhang Lanhu and said lightly, now you should have severe pain twice a day, right? As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Jiangtao laughed and said, Mr. Su, although you are the miracle doctor in Guan Yuanshan's mouth, you can't just speak nonsense and make a fuss. Besides, you guessed wrong this time. My father's injury does cause severe pain every day, but it only hurts once at noon. Zhang Jiangtao's face was smiling. Today, he made a big fool of himself in the Wumeng because of Su Chen. Therefore, although he also wanted his father's injury to recover, he was also happy to see Su Chen make a fool of himself. Guan Yuanshan looked flustered. Su Chen said lightly, I said twice, it means twice. Once at noon, and once at midnight. Nonsense. Zhang Jiangtao provoked, don't I know my father's injury better than you? At this time, Zhang Lanhu suddenly spoke, Jiangtao, shut up. Don't be rude to Dr. Su. Zhang Jiangtao was stunned, turned his head, and looked at his father in astonishment. Zhang Lanhu didn't even look at him, but stared at Su Chen. Mr. Su, you are so right. I really feel pain twice a day, once at midnight, and once at noon. You are really a miracle doctor, you can tell, just by looking from a distance. Hearing this, Zhang Jiangtao's face turned red instantly. Just now, he was still talking nonsense. Su Chen didn't understand his father's injury as well as he did. The previous words were like a slap in the face, slapping him hard in the face. Dad. Zhang Jiangtao didn't know what to say. Zhang Lanhu looked at him and said lightly, I didn't want you to worry too much, so I didn't tell you. At this time, Zhang Jiangtao's eyes looking at Su Chen changed again. He hurriedly walked up to Su Chen and bowed. Mr. Su, I was just sitting in the well and looking at the sky. Please forgive me. Please save my father. Su Chen looked at him and ignored him. Alliance Master Zhang, if I'm not mistaken, you have been infected with a poisonous aura. Poison is a yin type poison that attacks at midnight, while evil is a yang type evil that hurts people at noon. Is that right? Everyone looked at Zhang Lanhu. Yes, yes, yes. That's it. Zhang Lanhu's face showed excitement. Then, he looked at Su Chen expectantly and asked, Mr. Su, would you like to check my body and see if I have any other problems? Su Chen smiled faintly and said casually, you are talking about the 2 black gold sword key in your arm meridians, right? Zhang Lanhu's face changed, and he looked at Su Chen in a daze. Just now, Su Chen saw that he was infected with a poisonous aura just by observation, which shocked him. So he wanted Su Chen to check carefully to see if he could solve his black gold sword key. However, Su Chen still didn't even move his hands and revealed his other injury. Mr. Su, you are truly amazing. Zhang Lanhu was excited. I have sought out the 3rd rank divine doctor on the Saint Hands list, but he never pointed out my problem without first contacting me. Su Chen smiled. Before, Zhang Lanhu's attack power was very low when he attacked, so Su Chen had some doubts. Just now, he used his mental power to scan and instantly determined the problem. Zhang Lanhu was already astonished. He looked at Su Chen nervously and asked, Mr. Su, do you think my condition can still be cured? Su Chen smiled and said, it can be cured, but not completely. Zhang Longhu was stunned. What do you mean? Su Chen explained, I can help you solve the poisonous evil spirit in your body now. However, the conditions for solving the two Zhuanjin sword key are more complicated, and you need to prepare a few spiritual medicines. Zhang Longhu was immediately overjoyed. Then let's solve the poisonous evil spirit first. Tell me what spiritual medicine the Zhuanjin sword key needs, and I will definitely help you find it. Su Chen nodded. Sit down. Zhang Longhu sat down quickly. Su Chen walked behind Zhang Longhu. Zhang Longhu was a little nervous. After all, Su Chen's attack power was far beyond that of ordinary Xianshan realm. What's more, he had conflicts with Zhang Longhu and others before. For a moment, Zhang Jiangtao's expression changed slightly. He wanted to get closer to Su Chen, thinking that if Su Chen made any moves, he could stop him. At this time, Zhang Longhu said, Taoa, why are you getting in the way? Stand aside. Hearing this, Zhang Jiangtao was stunned. However, looking at Zhang Longhu's stern eyes, he had to step aside quickly. Don't doubt people when you employ them, and don't employ them if you doubt them. Zhang Longhu still understood this principle. Moreover, he felt vaguely that if Su Chen really wanted to attack him, he might not have to do so. Now that he was seriously injured and half crippled, he might not be Su Chen's opponent at all. The previous battle had already proved it. The two black gold sword key and the meridians of his arm limited his strength. Su Chen smiled. He took out a handful of silver needles and threw them. Puff, puff, puff. Each silver needle landed precisely. Su Chen slowly said, next, my energy will enter your body. Don't resist. Everyone's face changed slightly. This is equivalent to handing your life to Su Chen. Zhang Longhu gritted his teeth. Okay. Su Chen's palms were immediately printed on Zhang Longhu's back. The flame energy in his left hand was blazing and surging. The black thunder energy in his right hand was sharp and yang. The next second, they both rushed into Zhang Longhu's body at the same time. Zhang Longhu was shocked. Even though he had been prepared, he was still shocked by Su Chen's huge energy. Moreover, they were two extremely high quality energy. The flame energy and the black thunder energy merged instantly, destroying the poisonous energy in Zhang Longhu's body. Sigh. Ah. Zhang Longhu screamed in pain. Everyone's face changed slightly, and Zhang Jiangtao was even more anxious. Su Chen's steady voice sounded faintly, hold on. Then, he continued to control the two energy, to break the poisonous energy. The flame energy breaks the poison, the thunder energy breaks the evil. Not long after, a light black liquid slowly flowed out of the silver needle on Zhang Longhu's body. A rotten smell spread. The several innate realm masters around felt a little dizzy, even if they just smelled it. You get out. Su Chen said lightly. Everyone did not dare to stay, and hurriedly evacuated the room. Even Zhang Jiangtao did not dare to say anything at this time. Soon, there was no more pain on Zhang Longhu's face, but a peaceful face. Su Chen slowly withdrew his hand and pulled out the silver needle for him. Swoosh. Zhang Longhu opened his eyes, his face full of excitement. He wiped off the black stains on his body and looked at Su Chen with excitement. Mr. Su, you have solved all the poisonous evil spirits in my body. From now on, I don't have to suffer anymore at midnight. Thank you, thank you. Zhang Longhu looked grateful. At this moment, he no longer cared about the unpleasantness with Su Chen before, and thanked Su Chen sincerely. The door opened, and Zhang Jiangtao and others rushed in excitedly. Everyone was very excited. After all, Zhang Longhu was the soul of the Wumeng. After a while, everyone calmed down, and Zhang Longhu looked at Su Chen. He showed a hint of flattery in his expression. Mr. Su, is there really no way to solve the two black gold sword key in my arm meridians? Su Chen said lightly. Of course there is a way to solve it, but it requires a few spiritual herbs. Zhang Longhu said excitedly. You tell me. What do you need? I will definitely find it for you. The biggest effect of solving the poisonous evil spirit is to help him get rid of the pain. Although it has a certain help in restoring his strength, it is not particularly great. If you want to restore the power of the divine realm, you still need to completely solve the black gold sword key. Bring a pen and paper. Zhang Jiangtao hurried to get it. Su Chen took it and wrote down a few spiritual herbs and some rare herbs. Zhang Longhu took it respectfully. Mr. Su, don't worry. I will contact you as soon as I find all these herbs. Su Chen nodded. At this time, Zhang Longhu took out another bank card and handed it to Su Chen respectfully with both hands. Mr. Su, there are 5 billion in this card, which represents my apology and is also your consultation fee. Su Chen wanted to refuse, but Zhang Longhu insisted that he accept it. If I had known that I would be paid for the consultation, I would have written to less spiritual herbs just now. Su Chen looked helpless. That's right. Just now, when Su Chen wrote the spiritual herbs and medicinal materials for Zhang Longhu, he wrote a full 5 spiritual herbs. He also added the spiritual herbs and medicinal materials he needed for his own cultivation. And Zhang Longhu actually used only 2 of them. Su Chen thought that Zhang Longhu was a strong man in the divine realm and the leader of the powerful Wu Meng, so it should be easier to collect some. Collect more and treat it as a consultation fee for himself. As a result, now he gave me another sum of money, which made Su Chen a little embarrassed. Forget it, I'll save him again when he's about to die next time. Or if someone in their martial alliance is seriously injured, I'll help out of kindness. Well, that's it. Very fair. Su Chen thought secretly. Just this chapter. Good night, everyone. I'll try to write more tomorrow. Chapter 575. Nasty. Zhang Longhu didn't know what Su Chen was thinking. However, even if he knew, he would probably be very happy. After all, he had already experienced Su Chen's medical skills. Having one more such a divine doctor by his side was like having one more life. For the Wu Meng, there were only benefits, not disadvantages at all. As for a few spiritual medicines, such a thing was actually just a matter of effort for Zhang Longhu. A powerful person in the divine realm and the leader of a large force wanted to get some resources, and the method was much more convenient than Su Chen. However, Su Chen also had his own method. That is, he could easily instruct the leaders of these large forces to help him do these things. Everything was settled, and everyone was satisfied. Guan Yuanshan resolved his grievances and became the deputy leader of the Wu Meng. Zhang Longhu resolved the poisonous evil spirit in his body and no longer had to suffer at midnight and noon every day. Su Chen got 5 billion and also helped the Yu brothers and sisters solve the problem of expert bodyguards. Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian, 2 peak Xianshan realm masters, are more powerful than 3 ordinary peak Xianshan realm masters. If such a Linoop is given to use Nayu for free, Yufule will probably jump for joy. The only dissatisfied people are the dead Wang Changbing and Zhao Liange. But no one cares about the opinions of the dead. Zhang Longhu was overjoyed. He looked at Su Chen with a smile. Mr. Su, thank you so much. I wonder if I have the honor to invite you to have a meal together? Su Chen looked at the time. It was indeed lunchtime. However, he shook his head. Alliance Master Zhang, there is no need to have a meal. My friend is still waiting for me. Next time, after you collect the spiritual medicine and I help you to completely cure it, we will have a drink and chat. Yufule and Juzanayu must still be nervously waiting for news from him. Su Chen thought that he should go back first. A trace of regret appeared on Zhang Longhu's face. He nodded and said, okay. Mr. Su, you can go ahead and do your work. If you have time in the future, you are welcome to visit our Wu Meng often. In addition, the 2 elders Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian will be handed over to you. As he spoke, Zhang Longhu looked at Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao. You two, protect Mr. Su's friend. If anything happens to her, I will hold you responsible. Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian hurriedly clasped their fists and bowed. I obey the order of the leader. Su Chen nodded, very satisfied with Zhang Longhu's operation. Okay, Leader Zhang, then I will take my leave. Su Chen bowed. At this time, Zhang Jiang Tao said, Mr. Su, thank you for solving my father's poisonous aura. You'd better be careful of Ninglide, this guy's not simple. Su Chen nodded and turned to leave. On the side, the brothers Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao hurriedly followed. Guan Yuanshan greeted Zhang Longhu and hurriedly followed Su Chen. Zhang Longhu and his son looked at the figures of Su Chen and others leaving Qiu with complicated expressions. In the future, this God realm powerhouse will have one more powerful person. Zhang Longhu sighed. Zhang Jiangtao looked at his father and asked, "Dad, when you admitted defeat before, were you really not a match for Mr. Su?" Zhang Lanhu looked at Zhang Jiangtao with a smile. "Do you think that I didn't admit defeat sincerely before?" "Yeah." Zhang Jiangtao nodded. "I always feel that it's not realistic. After all, you are a land immortal, and he is just an innate realm. Even if there are 2 black gold sword energies in your arm meridians, which prevent you from exerting your full strength, you are also in the god realm. No matter how powerful Su Chen is, he can't defeat the god realm with the innate realm." Zhang Lanhu shook his head. "You are wrong. Su Chen is not an ordinary innate. In fact, he is a god realm powerhouse disguised as an innate." Zhang Jiangtao was stunned. Zhang Lanhu said, "Do you know about the loud noise at the Bei family 2 days ago?" Zhang Jiangtao nodded. "I heard about it. It seems that something happened to the Bei family, and someone came to their door and made the Bei family lose face. I heard that it seemed that a divine realm person took action. Maybe the Bei family offended a divine realm person." "You are wrong." Zhang Lanhu said coldly. "Your information is not comprehensive at all. The person who came to the Bei family's door is a powerful Xianshan realm person. Not only did he kill most of the Xianshan realm and Zhuanjin worshippers of the Bei family, but he also escaped unscathed after fighting with Bei Longxiang. That man's name is Su Chen." Zhang Jiangtao was stunned. Zhang Lanhu continued, "Do you know that on that night, the Bei family lost 5 innate masters and more than 20 Zhuanjin masters? Is this something a normal Yuan Qi master can do? Believe me, if Su Chen steps into the divine realm in the future, he may become an invincible master. What you have to do is to build a relationship with Su Chen, or even with Guan Yuanshan. In the future, you will definitely benefit a lot." Zhang Jiangtao swallowed hard. "So, you are so polite to him?" Zhang Jiangtao asked. Zhang Lanhu smiled bitterly. "I'm so polite to him, but not just because of this. In addition, his medical skills are also something I urgently need. More importantly, if I hadn't bowed my head just now, perhaps our Wu Meng would have lost a leader today." Catcher. This sentence was like a thunder exploding in Zhang Jiangtao's mind. It turned out that his father didn't even have the confidence to deal with Su Chen. Zhang Jiangtao murmured, "That's right, father. After all, you can't exert your full strength." Zhang Lanhu shook his head again. "Even if I can recover all my strength, I may not be able to kill Su Chen. He may not be my opponent, but if he wants to leave, I can't stop him. Besides, Su Chen's own strength may not be fully exerted. His martial arts seems to have very high requirements for the physical body. I have a feeling that, if his physical body is stronger, maybe I can't do anything to him in my prime." Zhang Jiangtao was shocked. "Is this still a master of vitality? Too scary." "Dad, don't worry, I will be respectful to Mr. Su in the future," Zhang Jiangtao promised seriously. Zhang Lanhu nodded. As long as his son has this attitude, he will be able to hold on to this thigh in the future. On the other side, Guan Yuanshan drove the car to send Su Chen and others back. Su Chen sat in the co-pilot, while Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian sat in the back seat. Along the way, Guan Yuanshan was smiling. This time with Su Chen to the Wu Meng, the harvest is really too great. Not only did he get justice for himself, but he also killed all his mortal enemies directly. "Mr. Su, thank you. Meeting you really took all my luck in my life," Guan Yuanshan said with a sincere thank you. Su Chen almost got goosebumps when he heard the compliment. "You didn't need all your luck in your life to meet me. You obviously used up your brother's 2 life pearls." "Okay. Don't say these things, it makes me uncomfortable." Su Chen refused. Guan Yuanshan looked at Su Chen and grinned. Su Chen quickly reminded, "Don't look at me and grin. You are driving. You have to look at the road." Guan Yuanshan turned his head quickly, looked at the road and continued driving. However, the smile on the corner of his mouth has not been put away. At this time, Fuelin Hotel. Yu Fule and Zhu Zinai are still waiting anxiously. Both of them want to call Su Chen, but they are afraid of delaying Su Chen's business. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.